Hey, I'm your host, Anthony Tank Mansfield. With me today is
Dan Ebben.
and this is What You Into.
What you into? What you into?
Listener, welcome back to the basement. We are winding down spooky season. Unfortunately, Jaimie is no longer with us. I'm not quite sure what happened. He just didn't show up today, and I can't get a hold of him. And I'm worried it might be something to do with the season. I mean, it could be alien abductions. It could be he fell in a grave, eaten by zombies. There's a lot of things that could be wrong. I don't want to speculate, but I'm a little scared. With me today, there was Dan. Dan, what's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
You doing okay?
Yeah. I suspect it's the 5G towers came for him.
Brother,
Don't start now.
don't. This is going to be a whole different podcast because I'll tell you what, I think you might be right.
I figured as much.
Yeah, that's right, listener. Welcome to Conspiracy Talk. No, man, your first time on the show, dude. How you doing? Thank you for coming in and doing the show. I'm stoked to have you here.
Absolutely happy to be here.
I threw up the Stephen King symbol high into the air on Facebook, and you immediately responded. You were like, "I got things to say about Stephen King."
I'm a giant nerd for Stephen King, and I'm not ashamed of it.
Well, that's exactly what we want here today to round out the spooky season episodes. Before we get into it, though, let's hit plugs real quick. You know where to find me on Instagram at Neil to No One. We can find you on IG at PDND. That's Printers Devil Merchant Design, and Swine City Brewing, and also SwineCityBrewing.com. Dude, you own a brewery. What's that like?
It's hard sometimes. It's fun. It's a weird little family that you create in your neck of the woods and not necessarily in your neck of the woods. It's fun getting to explore a craft that I love, and just doing weird things all the time because the world needs more of that.
I really like with what you have with Swine City. I like the beer. I like that you guys always have a bunch of different shit on tap. I think that's really cool. Every time I pop in there, there's always a wide selections of things to try. And two, I just like the general vibe of the place. Like your artwork is cool, the space is cool, just how big the building itself is and the backyard you guys have. Like, how did you start amassing and putting this all together?
We actually were looking for a much smaller location just to fit the bills. And we stumbled across that property on the corner, and it wasn't too much more than what we had originally budgeted for. And the yard alone has, I mean, it's hosted cruise-ins of classic cars, lowrider bounce competitions, a 3-day punk rock music festival, Rocky Horror Picture Show live more times than I can imagine. And it's just, it's fantastic. It's a place to just do weird stuff and have fun with the people that show up.
It's and you hit it on the head there as far as like a room to do stuff. Like it's how big is the backyard? Like, have you guys ever measured it?
It sits on 2 acres, and the building alone is 5,000 square feet. So not huge. The building isn't, at least by comparison to most other local folks nowadays. Mm-hmm. But the backyard is a massive field to play in.
Yeah, that's like the first time I walked out there, I was like, holy shit, this is like a football field and a dog park mixed together. Like it's sprawling and never ending.
We had thought about putting in a dog park, but our insurance agent at the time had advised us that was a bad idea.
I recently saw on Reddit where somebody was like, hey, we're doing a Kickstarter for a brewery dog park. And I was like, who is insuring this?
You know what's better than dogs and how responsible they are? I love them. But drunken owners is not always a good idea.
Yeah, let's get that Venn diagram of drunk people that are going to bring their dogs, and then drunk people that are going to bring their kids, and cut them loose in a backyard and see what happens.
I can just hear "not friendly" being yelled so many times.
How did you guys come up with like your visual concept for? Because I one of the things I like about Swine City a lot is like it's got very much like a punk rock vibe to it, and you guys are always doing like cool different artsy shit with your shirts. You have like the tie dye stuff that you're doing. How did you guys like start to develop what the brand was going to be?
And that's always it's been a process and a progress. I don't know that we keep redeveloping what we are, redesigning who we are. We just let those elements that have always existed and we play a little more on those. It's very rough. It's very DIY. That's where kind of the punk rock thing comes in. It's literally me creating a version of my test batch system in a much larger size, 31 times the size, and brewing beers the same way that I have in the past, and doing things to adulter them down the road in the same way that I always have before. And it just comes out of like this need to make yourself different than others, because there's so many craft breweries in the city now. You really just have to stand where you are and say, this is what we do. And you hope that people come, because if you're chasing trends, that's never a good idea.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that. I think the in the early days there was that where it was kind of like chasing trends, where it was like, hey, we all kind of do a similar thing, or we're going in this direction. But now everybody is kind of like starting to be like, well, this is what we're into, this is what we are, and adding a bit of more diversity to the market with what's available out there. Because it's like, it is cool to think like, oh no, this brewery, they do more lagers. Okay, well, if you want like dessert stouts, go over here. If you're looking for sours, go over here. And it's kind of sectioned off a little bit more, that you kind of have these different tiers you can go to depending on what you're into.
It's very neat to see the city grow as it has. And that was, I always think about Chicago because I spent a lot of time there when I was younger, and just kind of developed a love of beer and breweries and brewing from Chicago. So that's kind of that aspect, the shotgun garage type of style of a brewery is what I've always imagined. And I think that's what we created. But you see this diversification that's happening, and it's fantastic for me, which, because I'm beer miscuous, I can't go, hey, I want this style of beer today. I'm like, oh, what's that? And it's always the question I ask, and then I'm always surprised, and I always enjoy it.
Is there a when you started like to design the tap room for your brewery, like kind of what were you thinking in terms of that space?
Pretty much what it is, rough, bare bones. I think when we originally designed it, we were working with a full-fledged designer, and they gave us, oh, here's your architecture plans. This will be $60K. Here's the design plans. That'll be $60K, and furnishing could be about $170,000.
Whoa!
And I said, that's not going to happen.
That's impossible.
I don't have that kind of money. So basically, we went with what is most comfortable, what would be the feel, and what puts the push towards the community, what the push towards what the actual beer is. Because we're still making beer in the same area where people are sitting, and a leather chair isn't going to stand up to hop dust or particles that might get blown, because it's happened.
That's one of my favorite things about going to a brewery is actually seeing the equipment and like actually getting to see where it's made. Because if I just want to go hang out in a space, I can go to a bar. But that's the magic of breweries, is I get to go and I get to see like how the stuff is made and where it's made at.
Drinking a show.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
And I think I'm from that age of how stuff works, and I always watched and always got in trouble for looking at how things work or going someplace where I'm not supposed to, because I wanted to see how the sausage is made.
100%. Let me ask you this, man. I recently saw you're doing stuff with Miami University for like football games and stuff. What's up with that?
Originally, during the pandemic, we actually were at their farmers market every weekend and delivering beer up there. And our market manager of their uptown market, the farmers market, Larry, wrote a letter to the dean saying, hey, if you can involve Swine City in anything in the future, it would be great. They've been a huge asset to us, helping out with market, and then also just being a presence around town. Is throw them a bone type of thing. And we had been approached probably a year before that by them about being their craft beer partner.
Nice.
And it was just a lot. We weren't ready for that.
Yeah.
And then this year they sort of talked to us again, and they said, hey, we got this letter from our market manager. Are you interested in this? And I'm like, I need to see what all it entails, all that stuff. And it's basically all of their sports stadiums have been dry until this year.
Yeah.
And they're flirting with like a mix of seltzers, sours, stouts, lagers, and IPAs. And it's just been a really interesting, like, working with them. And down the road, we are making Miami branded beers. We have a lot of alumni in our investment group, and it's always been a really cool campus for me. That was like going to Wildberry was something I did when I was a little kid with my family, and it's neat to see it come full circle and provide them with alcohol for the sports and give back to that community eventually.
Hell yeah, man. I think it's interesting that, like, we are starting to see that shift now with college stadiums where, like, you are starting to see booze in the stadium because, like, it's a real mix. I remember, like, I went to an Ohio State game a few years ago. They had Bud Light, but that was kind of it. But at the same time, Ohio State was, like, one of the first universities to be like, oh yeah, we will serve beer in the stadium. Because when I went to the UC Notre Dame game like 2 years ago, dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Like, you could do whatever you wanted in the parking lot, but as soon as you stepped in the stadium, man, it was waters and Cokes, and that was it. And there has been that shift recently where, like, more college stadiums are like, okay, yeah, I mean, we'll flirt with it and play with it and open it up. And for on your side of it, was there ever a worry of, like, oh shit, can we make enough product to fulfill this? Because I can't imagine filling up like a stadium's worth of beer vendors.
Absolutely. And it's not a knock on the university itself or anybody that works there. It's just they don't understand how craft beer works, kind of. So it was definitely a huge struggle when the first order came in, and it's like, here's the case counts. And I'm like, we don't have enough cans for that. We went from having like a 3-month supply of cans, doing small releases and, feeding cans a couple accounts here and there, to just revolutionizing how we do things. And the processes have just changed, and it's been crazy.
Yeah. I remember when I was working for Moreline years ago, like, just because they had a thing with like Great American Ballpark, and just the amount of beer we would have to make just to bring down to just try to feed that. And it was just kegs upon kegs. And it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, 20 to 40,000 people are going to show up every night at this thing, and a lot of them are going to want to booze it up. And it's like, yeah, we got to make a lot of shit for this.
And we've really had to simplify our tap list to match that up. We do have 25 taps still, but it's been hard keeping those lines full when we're producing, pallets of cans. It's crazy for us. And
you're doing self-distribution as well?
Yeah, DIY as fuck.
Dude, man, hats off to you, man. That's okay. So you're making your own beer, you're delivering your own beer, you're making all your own merch.
Yeah.
Holy shit. When do you sleep? And how do you do this with just 2 arms?
I do have Patrick, Ethan, and we actually, one of our bartenders, Mackenzie, has been in the back of house just starting this week. So we're a team of 4 strong, and we really do just, bust ass, and it's really been a process.
Nice, man.
Yeah, we lucked into purchasing a mill or a auger system from another brewery, so that really changed how we do things and made it more streamlined.
Oh yeah.
And it's just looking at like what the next order is, how much money is going to be profit, and just figuring out what piece of equipment will benefit us the most.
Nice. Listener, if you're in the Cincinnati area, pick up some Swine City, man. It's great beer, and it's good people, and great people, good beer. However you want to put it. It's awesome across the board. Give them your support, buy their beer. All right, man, let's get you off the clock. Let's punch out of work. Let's chill. Let's talk some Stephen King. What do you say?
Sounds great.
So again, like I said, when we threw it out there, you were one of the biggest people to be like, I have things to say, and I was like, I like Dan. Let's get him on the show.
I got something to say.
So, what Stephen King books do you like? Do you got like a top 5 or anything?
So Desperation. Mm-hmm. And for me, a lot of things are time and place, and that was in my life. That time and place, like it's like, oh, this can be realistically spooky, and this can be fun and scary, and drive you the suspense of it just to finish the book. And that was one of the ones that I just read cover to cover immediately upon reading it. But for me, the Stephen King journey was us having a pirated VHS of Stand By Me, Deadpool, and Cobra, which I know you.
I love some Cobra. How about Night Shift?
Night Shift.
Whoa! What the fuck? Hey!
Hello, everybody. It's Jaimie Filer.
I thought you weren't doing the show tonight.
I just appeared. No, I was living the life of Night Shift. I had to catch a mouse. In a house.
And you just mystically appear in the basement?
Mystical. I got magic, Tank. I got magic. Yeah. No, my 3 lovely cats decided that they wanted to fuck her. Like a mouse came in the house and fucked around and found out. And then my wife called and said, you need to come help me get this mouse out of here before it becomes a slaughter. So
Do you have Houdini magic or do you have ninja magic?
yes.
Fair.
I mean, I have a cat named Houdini, so I think that counts. So.
Okay.
And he was one of the motherfuckers chasing that mouse. So
That's my boy.
You get some throwing stars with poo on them.
yeah, he was a little ninja.
That's what he does.
That's what he does. You put the poo on the star.
Yeah.
You've heard
You heard
this.
the episode. You know
heard
how it
this rant.
works.
And then your fingers stink.
Yeah, it's true.
You're
Ninja fingers have to be horribly smelled by the end
Stinky
of a
fingered ninja.
No.
assassination.
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably a good hot steaming bath after like a long day of ninjaing because you're covered in blood. You got poopy fingers. You know, who knows? God knows what you've like done that day, and you need a hot steam bath, like just chilled.
When you have an omerta, do you really have time for a hot steamy bath?
You hope.
Okay.
You hope.
Well, you got it. Self-care.
Yeah,
Self-care.
I mean, if you're a ninja, you still got to take care of yourself. Like, you know, your body
Meditation.
is a weapon. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, got to sharpen the knife, take a hot bath. Can't have poopy fingers.
So, okay, one of the things to first talk about was Stephen King because I feel like we need to we're going to talk about Stephen King the person, but before we get into Stephen King the person, I think we need to talk about there's more than one Stephen King. There's Richard Bachman. Can you explain?
Yeah, Richard Bachman was his pen name where he would kind of test things out. He would write a short story in hopes to get publicized in like Reader's Digest-esque magazines or books. It really wasn't discovered that Stephen King was Richard Bachman until somebody was looking through Library of Congress records and he accidentally put Stephen King as the writer of Thinner instead of Richard Bachman, one of the two.
Yeah.
He reversed it.
He
and they were
flipped
like,
it.
hey, wait a minute. And he's like, oh, the jig's up. I don't do this anymore. So
Do you think that he's got any other pen names?
I would hope, but I don't. I think he would have said by now, hey, I'm also Dean Koontz. Super spooky.
I was going to say, has anyone ever heard, it's a very urban legend, Lemony Snicket's. Lemony Snicket's The Tale of Unfortunate Events. A lot of people believe actually Stephen King wrote those.
Really?
Yeah, if you've ever read them, they're very different than Stephen King in the way prose is and things like that. I mean, like, what I have read of Bachman books, I feel like, you're like, I kind of see that same dude, you know, using a different part of his brain. Lemony Snicket's is a whole other thing. Like, it's poetry type. So it does make me curious in the sense of, like, where that comes from. But people are like, they're so kind of dark and twisted that has always been kind of a legend. I kind of hope for it. Like, a part of me, like, is like, that would be so badass. Like,
Lemony Snicket seems a little more colorful and a little more
yeah, like out there.
fun.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like there's a realism tinged with horror for Stephen King. But
maybe that's where he gets it. You know, he's like, I want to write about. Well, I mean, it's still about an uncle that's trying to kill kids. So I guess that's the part where I'm like, that seems like Stephen King.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see like when artists or musicians like a band that they're known for being in and they go on and do something else is completely different what they do. And I also wonder like if that happens with writers or other people where it's like, this is what I normally do and I kind of want to shift it up and do this instead. I know I do that sometimes with art. Like I tend to go back and forth between like my normal style and then I really like Derek Hess. And I've been like, in my sketchbook, I do a lot of Derek Hess-esque drawings. And now I'm starting to do that more with live art where it's more about motion and quick stuff and just moving and sketching and grooving. And it feels good because like my normal stuff is very tight and like I'm measuring things. Whereas with this, I'm just loose as fuck and just doing whatever I want. So yeah, I kind of wonder like, I don't know. I don't know if it is the same guy, but I could see wanting to kind of get outside how you normally work just to do something a little different.
Yeah, there's a Japanese manga artist that does it has a Japanese name. We're not going to even try this. I'm not even going to attempt, but it's Legend of the Overfiend, and it's basically about a demon that comes from hell who, as it ages, looks like a teenager, but he's like 900 years old, and he basically blackmails everybody and for sex and violence and very, very over the top, very like everything's out on the page type thing. And I read an article with the guy, and he was like, yeah, you know, and it's S&M and everything. I mean, it's hardcore. And he's like, yeah, you know, a lot of publishers really want me to do children's books now. And he's like, yeah, you know, just they think that might be my thing. The way I draw might work for children's books. I'm like, who the fuck would let their kid read this? Like, But maybe that's an avenue, It's
Johan Vasquez, who did he does
Johnny the
Invaders.
Homicide Maniac?
Yeah, Johnny the Homicide Maniac did Invader Zim.
That's true, yeah.
Flawlessly.
Yeah, and if you read original Johnny's, that is not who I want in a cartoon.
It was
Or I love in a cartoon.
I think the same month that he released Invader Zim, he released Everything Can Be Beaten, which is a children's book about beating everything that you see.
Oh,
Yeah. Anyways,
Story to tell the kids.
Divergence.
it's always interesting when like people do shift that up. I think of like a lot like that with like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books, how they were like super hardcore. And then it turns into the 80s cartoon, and you know they eventually go on to do like live concerts with guitars. Like it's just such a difference from what that originally was.
I think you saw that with Batman too.
Yeah.
They had
That's true.
they had the original Batman, which was dark and almost horror-esque, and then you had Batman with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then you had the Batman the animated series, which was dark and it was on like at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
and it was very dark.
Yeah.
So and then the Dark Knight came out, and it's proven them well to go darker.
The Batman animated series was so great. I loved that as a kid. It was so
Classic.
cool. Like the Zeppelins they had flying through the air and stuff at the beginning. The way they depicted Gotham, like the super elongated Batmobile. It was a great show.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I was recently talking with a friend of the show, Justin 3000 Stewart, and he brought up the fact, he's like, you can use Batman or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in any story, anytime. They can be serious, they can be slapstick, they can be in the future, they can be in the past. It doesn't matter if you drop them in. And so then I hit him up and I was like, I think the opposite of that is Mad Max and Conan, because if you take those things outside of where they normally are, unless it's comedy, it doesn't work.
Don't get me into Conan. That's huge comic book Conan fan from the 70s. I still collect them.
We were a very pro Conan the Barbarian show.
Very,
also.
Yeah, very big Conan fan.
Yeah. You're
I will say back in the probably around like 2011 or 12, there was a series of Conan books where Conan and Belit, she was like this pirate princess, and I think it is actually based on one of the books, but it's like a romance story between the pirate. It's like the only woman that is going to actually like capture Conan's heart is some badass pirate.
Of course,
chick
it's like,
who just fucks
That tracks.
everybody up
Yeah.
herself. You know.
It's like the blonde in the first movie where like she's also badass.
Yeah,
and
yeah, of
Conan's
course.
like,
I mean, like,
yeah,
what
it's
do you
like-
expect,
It's like, oh, you're hot and you're an assassin. Awesome,
Yeah.
perfect.
But I always remember that story because, like, as much as it had, violence and sword and sorcery, everything else, the romance aspect in it was so weird to read that it was like the best part of it. I just always remember that. It was also drawn by, I can't remember her name. Phenomenal artist throughout the whole. Becky A. Cloonan, who's
Oh, I've heard her.
insane good artist.
Yeah.
But so I mean, maybe they mixed up Conan a little.
Justin tried to immediately murk my theory by sending me a page from like it was either the 70s or 80s where they did a Conan book like a Marvel What If, and it's Conan as like a pimp drug dealer.
Oh, when he comes to New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. It's true. There is like
That doesn't track for me.
It doesn't work. It's so crazy.
It's like this is a what if. This is not a real canon.
This is still
They did do Marvel got the rights back a few years back, and it did
Okay.
Savage Avengers, and it was Conan came to modern day, and like him and the Punisher running around. It's trash.
It's
gotta be.
It was like right around the moment where I'm like, I don't think I can read Wednesday comics anymore. Like this stuff is trash. It was so bad.
Again,
So
You can't merge Bronze Age with modern. It's just
No.
not going to work.
No.
it was horrible.
no,
Yeah.
that does not. That's peanut butter and sardines. That ain't working.
Yeah, it was horrible.
All right, let's talk about Stephen King a bit. And I know we want to talk about it as the man, but I also want to start with this. Like, there's a lot of stuff that Stephen King has made that's part of pop culture you would never fucking know is Stephen King. And one of the things you brought up was The Body. Can you expand on that real quick?
Absolutely. One of my favorite short stories was from him was The Body, which was remade into a film adaptation, which I think is pretty close as you're going to get to a Stephen King book as a movie. And it's not really anything metaphysical. It's nothing out of the norm. It's just a body that they find and the journey along the way. And it's Stand By Me is a classic. And you have a lot of famous actors now who starred in it. It's just it holds you till the end.
Yeah. Stand By Me is one of those movies that is just timeless. It's one of those things that, it came out during that time period where I don't know if people really understood like that children could be in a serious movie, because I remember seeing it way too young, and like my parents think it was like a kids movie, and it's like, oh shit, this isn't a kids movie. This is like these teenage boys like becoming men, and Kiefer Sutherland's a real motherfucker that might kill them.
Yeah, the cigarette burning the eye is just, I mean, it still plays back in my mind as one of those things that just bothers me.
Yeah. The whole getting into the thing with like Corey Feldman in the movie, where like his dad like beating him and stuff and all that, and talking about PTSD, it's super heavy, just across the board.
The Looney up in Tokus.
Yes,
That's always a good one. And the Moons and Goochers. That's always, we'd always, as a teenager, be like, you're Moon and Gooching me. If you're saying that something that I'm doing is going to be a negative or had a bad reaction, is always Moon and Gooching me or something like that. It's pretty funny.
hell yeah, nice. Another thing that he made that again it blows my mind is he wrote the nouvelle. He wrote a story that became the Shawshank Redemption. And dude, that movie is constantly on TNT to this day. I don't know how many times I've accidentally watched Shawshank Redemption, and just how huge that movie has been for, multiple decades now.
Yeah, I feel it's like one of those safe TV shows. Like almost everybody likes it, at least enough that you can put it on at any time, anywhere, and even anywhere on the film. And everybody's like, it's Shawshank. They're halfway through. We know that he'll get out. We'll sit here and watch it and just chat.
I think the TV edit is probably necessary.
Oh yeah.
For me, it's really it put like a rebellious streak in me, and just not all the things that are as they seem or what they are. And you have this guy finding redemption, crawling through a shit pipe, and he's fooled all of the characters that, like all the wardens and all the guards and everything that were so awful to him. And it just kind of builds in this Stephen King-esque disrespect for authority, which I love.
Yeah, 100%. There's definitely that. And there is the thing, too, where like Andy Dufresne tries to play by the rules, and it doesn't work for him. And he realizes that, well, what's the point of doing this where like everybody who tries, it's used against them. And the way the warden is used in that, and the guards and everything else, it's great. And of course, Morgan Freeman.
Oh my God.
How can you hate Morgan Freeman?
Oh, Andy.
Andy fought the good fight that day against the sisters. Yeah, like he's so good. He fucking kills it. And it's just such a memorable movie. And again, it's written by a guy where it's like when you think Stephen King, you do not think like all-time Americana classic movie. You think horror. You think of scary, creepy shit. And it's just so different.
It's also different in the fact that it ends in a happy way.
Yeah.
And most of the Stephen King books are like, oh, hey, here's this wrinkle.
Yeah.
Or, hey, they're all dead now. And
you're right.
This is one of those, hey, redemption's at the end.
Thumbs up. Happy times. Everybody gets a nice the end.
Cruise away in your convertible.
Do you think that's one of the reasons why it's as popular as it is?
No. I think it's just, it hits so much of a rebellious streak at the time that it was released, and people wanted to see a redemption story of all the things that in the prison complex that they were seeing at the time. And I think that's probably a lot to do with it.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does make you feel good, especially at the end, to see this character that you're cheering for actually get to live his life and do his thing. And it makes you feel really good. One of my favorite things that comes from Stephen King, that became a major motion picture, because again, we are a very pro-Arnold podcast here at Way Into, is The Running Man.
I cannot speak to the book Running Man because it has been forever erased from my memory, because Arnold Schwarzenegger starred in a movie called The Running Man that is an awful portrayal of the book, but it's so good.
Yeah.
It's just you can't beat that.
It's so cheesy. It's perfect Mystery Science 3000 shit. It's very of the time of the 80s. Like it is Schwarzenegger at his like most one-linery shit with like as he's killing all these guys off they're supposed to fuck him up, and of course he's killing them. It's incredible.
It's a modern, or not modern, but an 80s Most Dangerous Game meets
100%.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
100%. And as I said on the previous episode, I'm a sucker for those. I love a good game show movie. Like, I really do. Jamie, we were talking about off mic the other day. We were talking about slashers and how cool that is.
Yeah, Slasher's getting ready to come out on Blu-ray, actually.
Oh, it's coming out on Blu-ray?
Yeah, they're
Hell yeah,
redid
dude.
it all and releasing it.
Listener, go watch Slashers if you've never seen it. It's this really cool movie about a Japanese game show where they kill people. Yeah,
Sounds right up my alley.
exactly. Yeah,
Slasher / pro wrestling gimmicks to each of the killers, too. It's hilarious. It's like an evil dentist. Oh. And it's like, obviously, I mean, that's the best part about it is like they're guys in outfits and they're not trying to be like, it's like, I don't know, just my gimmicks are, evil dentists. Also, I have a chainsaw and I'm going to murder everybody. It's
Common dental tool is the chainsaw.
yeah, it gets the teeth out.
Well, yeah, you got to take out. I had when I got my wisdom teeth pulled, they cut out my gums. So that's what you do. You get a chainsaw back there, just get that shit going. It's fine. It's medical. It's not. All right, we're getting into your wheelhouse right now. Creep Show, man.
Creep Show, fuck yeah, love that movie. Such a grand original. Also, Stephen King's and a part of it. I mean, proving that he's a great writer.
He has this ability to just show up on camera in a very kooky, interesting Stephen King way, and he was the farmer that gets covered in the alien moss is hilarious to me. It's odd because I first saw bits and pieces of it in my childhood, and then like I went back and watched it from the beginning, and I'm like, oh hey, these are all those books that I used to read. The short stories have become this thing, and it was Leslie Nielsen and the getting buried in sand.
Yeah, on the beach.
You can't take it seriously, but you shouldn't have to. It's a Halloween time movie.
Is it Fluffy is the monster?
Fluffy's the monster.
Yeah, Fluffy's
Yeah.
the monster. That thing is great. Yeah, and also just the artwork of Creep Show, like the weird. And I remember that's one of those movies, Jamie, you and I have talked about so many times on this show, of going to like the local. And Dan, you're of the age. Remember, like going to your local movie rental place, and you would go through the horror section. They would have all those great covers, and Creep Show and Creep Show 2 both had killer covers.
Grabs you.
Yeah, it just immediately sucks you in. You're like, oh, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I had I think it was like last year at Horror Hound, they actually had a Creep Show. Like they had 5 or 6 people from the film, and they came out and did like, talk about the film and everything. But the one thing I took away was Tom Savini was there, the special effects guru, and he was saying how basically he was the babysitter for Joe Hill or Joe King or Joe Hill, however you want to, the author now, but Stephen King's son. And he was saying, but he was known because he was a photographer in Vietnam, and he had all these books of the horrible shit that he saw in Vietnam, and like Joe Hill would just be like flipping through them, watching Uncle Tom like build Fluffy, and he was just like, yeah, that definitely did not do damage. But Stephen King's like, I don't know, I need someone to watch him. Please watch my kid.
I mean, are you going to be a normal kid if Stephen King's your dad?
Yeah.
No, but yeah.
This also isn't helping things that you have Tom Savini slinging flip horror books.
You've just brought back a childhood memory for me of my stepmom is a legal editor, and she would do police law books. And I probably shouldn't have been flipping through those either, but there was a lot of bodies.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they explained how to put evidence tags on things that you might not normally put an evidence tag on, and how to size it up and make everything perfect.
Growing up, my mom was an emergency room nurse for multiple decades, and my dad and her were also both volunteer EMTs. So dinner table talk at my house was always very bloody, very fucked up. Somebody falling off a tractor and into the blades and losing a leg, or a car wreck, and this person needed like 250 stitches, and somebody was cleaning a gun and it went off, took off half their head, like just all that shit. And it was just normal dinner talk because that was just my mom's day. Or it was something that they were helping with the volunteer squad, and they had to use the jaws of life to extract somebody. And at a young age, it's like, oh, this is just normal. This is what all families talk about, And then I go over to somebody's house and I start talking, and people are just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You're like, I'm just trying to eat my spaghetti, Mom.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Everything. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. All right, guys, let's talk about maybe my favorite Stephen King movie thing of all time, Maximum Overdrive. What the fuck? All right, number one, if Emilio Estevez is in your movie, I automatically you got at least a star and a half for me. I love Emilio Estevez, especially '80s Emilio Estevez. Like, really can't do wrong for me. Love him in Repo Man. Love him in Men at Work. Love him in The Breakfast Club. Love him in Maximum Overdrive.
And he's in Young Guns.
In Young Guns. Oh yeah, in Young Guns
Young
1
Guns 2.
2. Yes.
I think AC/DC was the only movie that they've ever created a soundtrack for.
And wasn't that just like Stephen King reaching out to them, being like, "Hey, you want to do the soundtrack?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's he's actually pretty prolific at reaching out to bands and bands reaching out to him and saying, "Hey, can I inspire you? Can you inspire me?" And that's again a cool Kingism.
Well, that was the was it the Who Made Who album that was that? I remember it's like the one where it's like Angus on the cover, kind of like looking down with the guitar, and I remember Who Made Who is on that soundtrack because that's the whole thing is like talking about the cars and trucks and all
Like,
that.
Who made?
Yeah.
Who's making who now?
Who made who? You made you, and then yeah. Yeah, man, what a movie! Like, just across the board, what a wild ass movie of cars, trucks, random everyday items coming alive. Although if you're driving a car, it doesn't come to life for some reason, but whatever.
There was some bending of rules
Yeah.
throughout the whole film. Yeah, there was some stuff. Like, wasn't there like a truck or something like that that had like a machine gun hooked on top? It
Yes.
just went off, and I'm like,
That happens.
I'm like, how's that getting pulled?
That thing rules. That is like one of the coolest parts of the movie. And I don't even know like what that thing is. Like, I guess it's like some form of Jeep or something. But it's got like an M60 machine gun on it, and it just like rolls up to the truck stop and just completely unloads on it. Oh, by the way, listener, if you didn't figure it out before we started, spoilers, everything on this episode is spoilers.
Oops.
Spoilers. Also, if you haven't seen Maximum Overdrive from 1986, I don't know what to tell you at this point. You should have seen it. It's great.
Time's up.
Time's up. Yeah, go watch.
I think it's on Tubi right now.
Yeah.
If anyone in the audience wants to watch it, so
But-
you'll know the spoilers, but it'll be fine. You'll still enjoy it.
We get that great scene. We also get that great scene where the trucks are all outside the truck stop and like blaring their horns and making them like fill it up. And like Emilio Estevez's girlfriend has that shot where she's like leaning up against the like one of the gas pumps to fill them up. And I forget what they play. It was like they play Hell's Bells. And it's just like this awesome montage of like everybody taking turns, like filling up the trucks who are their oppressors, but they have to do it because they're being held hostage by the trucks.
You know how scary that would actually be, too.
If you're being
that
chased
would
by 18-wheelers, fuck
really
yes.
Fucked up. You're like,
It doesn't need to be a fleet of trucks. One truck's gonna. I mean, that's gonna
yeah,
fuck my
you're
day
done.
up.
I mean, there's no fighting back on that, but it's just like a whole ream of them just horns honking to their own device. Just, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, just like 40 trucks outside and they're all blaring their air horns at you, just like that would be horrific. Also, the Green Goblin truck in the movie, which how the hell did Marvel not sue for this?
They're like free advertising. Yeah, it's like, fuck yeah, we'll put that goblin head on there. Dude, that truck is so badass. That's why it was on the VHS cover, because it's so badass.
It rules.
Yeah.
Instant
how
villain.
happy would you be if you were just driving down the express? Granted, and it's not an evil truck that's trying to murder you, but how happy would you be if you just drove by and somebody had that shit on their truck?
Is it legal, or can you legally have a plexiglass, fiberglass
Pretty sure no.
face on the front of your car?
I thought this was America.
Last time I checked, it was.
There's like a Wienermobile.
There is a Wienermobile.
I mean, if you drive around on a fiberglass hot dog, I don't see why a Green Goblin head's much far different.
Goddamn
What
right.
if they wrecked head to head and it looked like the hot dog went into the Green Goblin's mouth?
They used to have a Pick-a-mobile, and I always wanted to paint it brown.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Sneak down there with some paint.
You wanted to make the Turdmobile?
A Turmobile would be pretty sweet.
would,
Ninjas running up everywhere, just trying to put their ninja
Yeah.
stars on it. See, it's,
Free turd.
would you have painted the bumps yellow?
No, I would have.
That's attention to detail, Jamie.
true.
Windows in the
Storytelling.
submarine.
He's not an artist. He's an artiste.
Yeah, that's storytelling right there.
That
You're letting
is.
people know.
It is. All right, we took a quick break, but through the magic of editing, you didn't know that, listener. But and the reason why I bring this up is while we were on the break, I looked up the soundtrack. So to confirm, Who Made Who by AC/DC, released in 1986, which again, Jaimie, you and I were talking about, it's kind of weird. It's not like it's like credited as the...
I didn't realize that it was... It's like I was telling you, I didn't know that... I knew they did the soundtrack, but I didn't realize it was a album for the movie.
Right.
At all. I was just like, I don't know, dude likes AC/DC a lot.
Yeah, and when I think of classic soundtracks, I think of things like the soundtrack to The Crow, or I think of like the soundtrack to like X-Files, Songs in the Key of X. And
that's a good one.
But this is like, there's nothing that says, like, you think that they would have called the album Maximum Overdrive at the very least, but no, they just completely, it's separate. It feels weird.
Yeah.
Two avenues of revenue.
Apparently, yes.
True.
Apparently. But dude, this fucking album slaps. Holy shit. So 38 minutes long. It's not all killer, but what is on here, Who Made Who, which I love that song by AC/DC. You Shook Me All Night Long is song number 2. Hell's Bells is on here, and you also get For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. And For Those About to Rock, one of my favorite AC/DC songs of all time, especially when like live when they bust out the cannons, like, and do a legit 21 gun salute. Like, holy shit, killer soundtrack. You were also talking about other people that show up in this film besides Emilio Estevez.
Yeah, one of the surprises for me was the actor who plays Gus Fring in Breaking Bad, and I'm not going to say his real name because I'm going to butcher it.
Fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, and also the lady who is the newlywed in the movie, she plays Lisa Simpson on The Simpsons, and she's one of those voice actors who doesn't change her voice for Lisa. Yeah. So the whole time you just like close your eyes, you're like, oh shit, Lisa Simpson's in this movie.
I wonder if The Simpsons have ever done a parody of Maximum Overdrive. Because they should.
I mean, they had to have, right? I mean,
somewhere down that road. I know Stephen King has actually been on The Simpsons, but...
He also writes for Treehouse of Horror commonly.
Oh, does he? Oh, shit, that's awesome.
He and Matt Groening are in a band together.
Oh, fuck, that's even cooler
dope.
And weirder.
This is by far the coolest band of all time.
Do they cover any AC/DC?
Is Tom Clancy on drums?
Oh, that'd be great. No, I don't think that they cover... I mean, I don't know. I imagine they probably would.
Be great.
That tracks for what I would imagine they would be putting out.
Sure. I would assume that that's what they're playing.
Yacht
rock.
Yacht rock, dad rock, butt rock.
Yeah. I really hope it's like a prog rush kind of thing where they get really weird with the lyrics.
We just cover the Pogues and that's it.
That's it. That's all we play. This is our thing. Well, Maximum Overdrive also is known as like kind of the wake-up call for Stephen King, where he stopped doing drugs and booze. Because this man went on a run for a while. Like from the late 70s through mid 80s, this man was drinking and snorting his way, while at the same time releasing all-time classics. Like this is a wild thing that Stephen King was doing. Was he was an addict, but very much a functioning addict. And so it is cool to see though that at the same time that like now he's 35 years clean and he figured out that he can do what he does without the aid of like alcohol and drugs, which is also very cool. So shout out Stephen King. I'm always a big fan of artists that have had trouble in the past with alcohol or drugs, just any addiction that they've been able to, because they thought it was part of the creative process, and they come out the other side and they're like, oh no, I can do this without that. Like in getting out of that mindset of I need this to be that. Which is a very easy thing for artists to fall into, especially when you're performing and stuff. It becomes a crutch where it makes things easier. And sometimes when things become hard, it's easy to go back to that crutch. And so if you can overcome that, I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah, I think, it always seems like I would assume that he's a workaholic. Tend to be, or, something like that. So, I guess he's keeping that vice, but at the same time, at least that is a healthier vice, I would assume, than everything else added on to it. Does anyone know? Again, this is one of those legend things. I'm not 100% sure, but is it Carrie is the story that he does? There was apparently some story that he wrote. He does not remember writing at all.
Oh, Cujo.
Yeah, Cujo. That was it, yeah.
And that's the cool thing, and I was going to speak on that when we were talking about Cujo, but his description about having a hangover and chewing Advils or chewing Tylenol to get them into your system quicker is complete addict, like understanding like the process and getting it into your system. It is just wild to me, and that he committed to that to paper and didn't remember doing it.
Wow.
That's amazing to me. To be so prolific for so long and struggle with those demons and come out on the other side is wild.
100%. Well, let's talk about this. Like, before we get into that, one last thing I think we got to hit before we get into Stephen King himself is just his love of music. You brought it up earlier with like the Matt Groening connection.
Absolutely.
Me and you were talking back and forth on Messenger, and you're like, "Yeah, there's pictures of him online going and seeing Rancid." I'm like, "Stephen King's into Rancid?" Yes.
Often. And he's not just like, he sits a little back from the pit, but he's been up close too. And he's like on the tour bus. And for me, Brance's always been one of those bands that I've enjoyed, and seeing somebody who I enjoy their work enjoy something that I like is kind of like that nice little thing together. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like Anthrax, Misfits, Pet Sematary, AC/DC, he's very into music. And that was
awesome.
And he actually has a classic rock station in his home, or not his home, but he owns one in his home state.
Really?
It's just crazy to me that, he's like, oh, I have money, I'm going to do something that I want to do for me, and it turns out well.
Yeah, when you're sitting on $500 million, you can have your own radio station. You can 100% do that. I totally dig that. I love the fact that there's bands that show him love and he shows love back. I'm especially interested in the whole like Rancid connections, because I think that Tim Armstrong, just the same way Stephen King is really good at writing in not only his genre but in other genres. Tim Armstrong has done that by like writing for people like Pink, and I believe he's done stuff. I don't know if he's done stuff for Kesha, but he's definitely done stuff for Pink. And it's just like, dude, you're Tim Armstrong. You're writing like pop hits, and it's like, yeah, I can do this, and just the amount of stuff that he's done with like, the Distillers and Interrupters and helping other bands and stuff. And the way he's been able to change Rancid throughout the years, where like sometimes it's street punk, sometimes it's ska, like it's kind of all over the place, and it works. So I'm very impressed by these two things that I like, rubbing shoulders and liking each other.
The Distillers does not get enough love, in my opinion.
Very good. Yeah, I dig that band. They're awesome. Also, they got a song about Cincinnati, so how can you not love them?
I just wonder if that was written like, hey, I'm going to pick a city that doesn't get a lot of love and write a song, and that's their hit now.
I know, right? Right. I always love that when like bands write about, because there's so many songs about like Los Angeles and New York and all that. I love when bands write about some offbeat state or city, and it just becomes like its own thing. I really like the Dopamines have that song about Cincinnati. I'm totally blanking on the name of it right now, but it rules too. It actually got used for like Sunday Night Football a few years ago when the Bengals were on. When they were going to break, they played. I'm like, oh shit, I know that band. I know this song. This is great. This is so awesome right now. So yeah, like that shit gets me excited. And then finally, the Sons of Anarchy cameo. I watched Sons of Anarchy for a while, and dude, I was not expecting Stephen King to pop on the show, and here he is.
Instant surprise for me. My wife actually picked him out, but they were trying to dispose of a body, and they didn't know how they were going to do it in time, and they called a cleaner, and was it Harvey Wolf style from Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
Someone shows up at the door to take care of the problem, or looks at the body, comes back up. I need this. Here's a list of stuff. It's Stephen King. And then he's like, I'll be downstairs, and they bring the stuff down. He disposes of the body and comes back up with like rubber gloves, like dishwashing gloves, and takes them off. And he's like, now payment. And he like tells them some absurd amount of money. And they're like, oh, we don't have that much. He's like, what do you got? And they give him what he got, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna take some things. And he just starts walking around, and like you see him like pause a little, linger on like there's a ceramic hand on the shelf, and he's like, and he puts that underneath his arm, and you're like, good day. Like, and it's just so quirky and so perfect for Stephen King to be the guy that disposes of the body and takes things, because things are fun.
It totally tracks, and I always think that was well, there were sometimes with that show I would get tired about the over-the-top violence and how nuts it got, especially in the later seasons. There was funny stuff like that would pop up. We also got like the Walton Goggins cameo where he played a trans woman, and that was always the thing. And his ongoing relationship with Tig on the show.
Yeah.
And what was funny about it was like they didn't play it as like it was like weird that this was happening. It was always funny because finally Tig was put in his place.
Yeah.
And you could definitely tell that Walton Goggins' character was totally in control of the situation. And what was made it great was at the same time this happening on effects, like Walton Goggins had just come off of doing Justified, where he was the big bad on the show. So it was like, it really showed his range of what he could do. And then when he ended up, going from then to like being on Vice Principals with Danny McBride, and now with Righteous Gemstone as Baby Billy.
Oh, Baby Billy I would go to his church.
Baby Billy's Bob Bonkers.
Oh my
Baby
God.
Billy is a phenomenal character in modern pop culture.
I love Baby Billy.
The writing of the song that he sings when he's walking around, singing about how happy he is to have this luscious lifestyle at his casino. Spoiler alert for Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah.
But like he's so upset because he's in this lap of luxury and it's not enough. We need Bible bonkers.
Baby Billy's
So
Bob
good.
Bonkers. We need Baby Bob Bonkers. Yeah, and he's singing the whole song about it. Someday there'll be a payday, which is hilarious.
Someday.
Like equating like going to heaven as a payday, but at the same time it's Baby Billy, so of course he needs more money.
Yeah.
Sometimes at the brewery when something goes wrong, I will sing "Someday There'll Be a Payday." And it's entertaining to me, maybe me alone, but
Jaimie, what were you saying there, man?
Oh, I was just saying, I actually kind of wish there was a Bible Bonkers show.
I'd
with
watch it.
him yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'd watch that shit. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, no, he kills it, man. He is phenomenal. All right, so let's do this. Let's start talking about Stephen King, the author, and the books. So, Dan, let's start with you, man. Since you are the guest, when did you first get into Stephen King, and how? Did somebody tell you about it, or did you find it on a shelf somewhere? And how old were you?
I've loved books since I was very young. We'd go to the library and there would be like, here's the limit for the day that you can take out. And that would be what I would take out. And I'd want to go back the next day and get the more books and return the ones that we had. But my mom and brother were really into Stephen King. And I think the accessibility of the short stories and the Bachman books for me was kind of where it was at, because The Dark Half and things like that were Red Salem's Lot. Really, it's a big book. And, when you're 8 or 9, you can look at that and like, that's too much. But the short stories are perfect.
Jaimie, how about you, man? When did you first start getting into it?
I was pretty young. Like, I mean, my mom read a lot, or she still does. And then her brother, my uncle, was really into Stephen King. I mean, he reads a lot. Like, he's retired now, and he still like reads a book, I think, every 2 days at least. But he was very big into Stephen King, and I always wanted to be smart. Like, I'm actually, I'll be the first to say I'm a complete idiot, but I hate the fact that I'm an idiot. So I always equated, like, if I read a lot, I can at least fake and pretend I'm smart. So I always try to read a lot, and Stephen King was kind of, I'm the same way. I was like, I'd read the short stories a lot, and those books are big. Yeah. It took me probably till like my mid-teens before I even tried to tackle a novel from Stephen King. But yeah, I just always kind of dug them from those influences.
Nice.
And I naturally, again, as we've talked a million times, I've naturally always, if there's something scary, that's going to attract me first. And so Stephen King, especially when I was a kid, was, the author for that.
My parents were never really into horror, but my godmother, Lynn, loves horror. And so I remember like being a kid, and I remember like Lynn was the person that introduced me to Chopping Mall. Like again, way too young, but I remember like seeing where like she had rented it, and I was like, "What's that?" And it's like the cover with like the bloody bag and the sticking out the bottom, and so instantly I was like, "Okay, she's in some cool stuff." And then I remember her like talking about Stephen King, and I was like, "Oh, cool." And I think I'm trying to remember like what I got started with. I remember like. I don't know if The Stand was my first book, but that was the one that really grabbed me. And then from there, I just started like reading, as much King as I could like get my hands on and stuff. And I want to say like I was like junior high freshman, because it was like 96, and then she was like, "Oh, there's this new thing coming out called The Green Mile," and like, but they're gonna release it in like 6 little books. So it wasn't like a whole thing. It was like this, like every 2 months, like a new book would come out that was like 100 pages. And I remember like being really excited about that and getting into King at that time. And so then, in between that, I would like go back and read other stuff. And for me, it was kind of like my version of, what like younger people who are younger than me, people who are like in their 30s, now, or maybe like their late 20s, would equate to like when they grew up reading like the Potter books, where it was like I could get like a big ass like 800-page Stephen King book and drill through it in like a week or like a week and a half, and get this really cool story and like just lose myself in it. It was really a lot of fun. What about so let's start out with this. Like 1974, Carrie is the first book that Stephen King writes. Holy shit, dude. Like, how do you launch? Like, how was your fucking rookie year, Carrie? Like, something that is now just part of pop culture in general. This thing where, like the girl getting blood dumped on her head. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows Carrie. Like, it's akin to, like, Warhol, like, making the Coca-Cola stuff, or, like, the Marilyn Monroe paintings. Like, it doesn't matter, like, who you are in the country. If you're like a 60-year-old black dude, or if you're like an 8-year-old Asian girl, or if you're like a 35-year-old white guy that's living in the middle of nowhere, you know who Marilyn Monroe is, and you also know who Carrie is. Like, what a way to start it. What was your guys' feeling on like the book, the movie, just Carrie in general?
I remember, like, I think my mom, because she read Carrie originally, I think even before I remember the movie being a big deal, like when it came to home video, because my mom really wanted to watch it because she was a fan of that book a lot. And again, I was probably way too young to kind of grasp what was going on through 90% of it. I just remember being like, holy shit, this poor girl's covered in blood. And that memory being stained in your brain. And I think it's that image of her with that blood is, I mean, as soon as I would assume for myself, and I would assume for others, as soon as you say Carrie, it's this skinny, poor girl at prom just covered in blood. And like, it's a terrifying image. Like, and if you don't even know the story, it's even like, again, you're assuming it's somebody, else's blood. Obviously it doesn't end well, after that, but you assume that that's the part where it's already ended.
There's a lot of weird stuff with Carrie, like looking back on it now from like modern vision. Cause I remember I like rewatched the movie a few years ago, and it's like, it starts out with like a shower scene of with high school girls in high school. Yeah. It's like, well, can't do that anymore.
Yeah, fully nude.
Yeah, fully nude. It's like, well, that doesn't work in 2020. Yeah. And then John Travolta's in it, which also is a mind blowing thing. And in a way, it's almost kind of like a precursor for like school shootings, because it's like everybody fucks with her and picks on her, and then finally she loses it and just murders the entire school. But like, it's a crazy concept.
It's a really interesting arc where she gets picked on and picked on and picked on, mm-hmm. and these weird things are happening to her, which already kind of is that teenage, coming of age type of thing. And then someone who's nice and has never picked on you invites you to prom, and then they pour blood on your head. Yeah. And it gets worse. And I think that's, even King itself is like, to have a happy ending is hard. Yeah. And it just gets worse.
Yeah, it really does hit on the idea of like how hard high school can be, and trying to be in the in crowd, and who's in and who's out, and people being bullied. And it is this like kind of timeless thing to work with. That's something that people still struggle with to this day in school, is bullying. And King's talking about this in the mid 70s.
Yeah, I think one thing that is another interesting part is we're kind of at that era, at least like film and things like that. You're stepping into the Amblin era, mm-hmm. era where Spielberg was putting out a lot of movies that were kind of reflecting the more positive side of the 50s. Excuse me. Is we got like E.T. Not that E.T. was in the 50s, but it's about young kids and they bully each other, but it's okay. An alien comes down and everybody has to join up in the end and get along. And then you had American Graffiti, and there's people that kind of pick on each other, but it's all in good jest and this and that. And it was interesting because King obviously grew up in the same era that Spielberg did, in the sense of the 50s. And with King's work, a lot of the stuff is telling, like, we tend to whitewash the past. Mm-hmm. It's just like someone that didn't live in the 90s is like, you don't know what trouble was, mm-hmm. our eras. And I'm like, I grew up in the 90s. It was shitty. It's like bad. Story after story. Yeah, I'm like very different world. Like I get.
All right, Dan, you're going to have to help me with this one, because so the second book, Salem's Lot, 1975, here's what I know about it. There's vampires. And go.
There are vampires in a small town, and they come back to the town and discover that there's vampires there. That's pretty much the thing. They actually they have a sequel that I love even more, and I struggle to. I know I have it written down, but that's pretty much the gist of it. There are vampires there.
Are they like are they like 31 Days a Night vampires?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so they're kind of like
Yeah.
very intense, like
It's once you figure out they're a
Creaturey
vampire,
vampires.
they're fucking brutal. It's Stephen King, so he's not going to pull punches on that, which I love. God damn it!
Jaimie, do you got? Well, he's looking this up.
Yeah, sorry.
Do you have a favorite type of vampire?
You mean like by design or like just in particular?
Well, let me put it to you like this. I don't like I'm not a big fan of like the gothy vampires. I'm not a big
Do you
fan.
like them sparkling? Is that what you prefer?
No. I don't like my vampires to sparkle. I also don't like the Interview with the Vampire ones where they have like the fucking frilly pirate shirts.
They're just pretty boys.
Yeah, I don't like that
Yeah.
shit. I like the vampires from like Blade.
Blade's cool. Yeah, I think like I mean, if I was going to talk about like a design that I feel is perfect, Nosferatu. I mean, because that's a creepy motherfucker. Like that is not something you want to crawl through your window. And am I wrong? I know in the movie they kind of take from Nosferatu for like is the book, is it kind of described that way or
It's very similar.
very similar? So maybe he's taken from that a little bit.
And the probably for me, I didn't take a lot away from Salem's Lot. Like it was really cool. It was like a really early. I mean, it wasn't like Dracula era,
Sure.
but it was definitely a little less modern version of vampires that kind of a little more scary.
Oh.
Like it for me, like having it be like I'm in a strange place. I'm in this town called Salem's Lot or Jerusalem's Lot, and there's vampires. And the really cool thing that I think happened was there was a Bachman book that came after it called One for the Road, and it was almost post-apocalyptic because they had burned Salem's Lot to get
Really?
rid of the vampires, but they weren't gone.
Oh.
And it's almost better for me. Like the part 2, like it's almost like Jaws or
That's a cool continuation.
Nice.
it's
Yeah.
neat because it's definitely you're exploring this burnt down town and there's vampires.
Still. Like even after they tried to nuke it, it didn't work.
Unstoppable force. Unstoppable force.
The immovable object. Okay, so let's transfer over to 1977, The Shining. This is one of those things that, like, again, talking about like pop culture, The Shining is just something that everybody knows. It's also a thing where like people know both the book by Stephen King, but then they also know the movie by Stanley Kubrick. And it's pretty open that there is a conflict of how much Stephen King hates the Stanley Kubrick version of The Shining.
The Shining for me is the book is vastly different in my opinion. In my reading it's more psychological, whereas the movie is more physical horror. You know, you've got this crazy person just going nuts, and they've got an axe, and they're going to come after you and your kid. And it's just a different book, and there's more of an interaction between the bartender and that ghost follows and again into a sequel in the Bachman books. You have them continuing on with that. Don't really care about it, but it is what it is. But I think that's kind of where that anger between Kubrick and King comes in, and I don't think it's without merit.
Because of like who's focusing on what in the story and what they thought was important to point out.
Yeah, and I think that again with Shawshank being a huge success because you just tell this damn story. You bring that story to life. You pick actors and it goes. The Shining became a different thing. I mean, in a Kubrick way, that's of course great director, but it's its own thing now, and it's not the same.
Jaimie, how do you feel about The Shining, the movie?
I watched it when I was pretty young, and it terrified me. It is one of my all-time probably top 5 movies. Like I watch it every winter. I don't watch it before Halloween. It's funny. It's like it has no interest in like everybody's like spooky season. I'm like, nope, not at all. I can't like January, February. My wife and I usually watch it because it's, it's cold,
It's
wintry.
perfect.
You're locked in the house. Yeah. I have Red Rum tattooed on me. I have shoes of the twins from the Shining movie. I have a hat with the insignia on an upside down cross. So I'm obviously a fan of the movie, the Stanley Kubrick. I tried to read the book, and it just kind of, for myself, it just wasn't connecting too much. Probably because, again, like a lot of things I feel are when you're fed them, what time, So I was fed the movie, and in my brain, that is the movie, or that is the story. So when I read the book, I was like, this isn't the story. And then I rewatched, they had a TV show, a TV movie that came on, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, probably by this point. That was like, Stephen King was like, this is the story. This is what I meant it to be. And I watched that and I was like, this sucks. I don't, for me, because it's not what I watched as a probably 10-year-old and was terrified to fuck of and thought that, there was going to be a naked demon lady in my bathtub. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely, again, it's one of those things where I'm like, I appreciate the bones that he gave to the movie, but that's kind of in my head, the story of The Shining is the film.
Yeah, I have way more of a connection with the film than I do the book. For me, it's just, and I rewatched The Shining sometime in the past, like 2-3 years, basically like during the whole, well, my wife and I were here during COVID. There was like just a lot of movie nights and re-exploring a lot of things. And that was definitely one of them that came in, and just going back and rewatching it and seeing like that intro part where what today would have been a drone, but back then was a helicopter, like flying in and falling down the road, and the sheer size of the building, the pattern of the carpet, and then just Jack Nicholson. Is it Jack Torrance? Is that his name in the movie?
Yeah.
Who he plays, and just like Nicholson is just constantly you can't take your eyes off him, and you see him like the facial expression. We talked earlier, about like off mic a little bit about like pro wrestling and how that relates to Stephen King. And that was a great point. We definitely need to bring it up on the podcast. But you do get the sense over the course of the movie, like, oh shit, this dude is losing his grasp on reality. And this man is sliding into something that is terrifying and evil. And poor Shelley Duvall. Yeah. Like she's constantly smoking cigarettes with the longest ashes in the world. Like this is it's an incredible movie to watch.
I think maybe The Simpsons might have ruined the movie The Shining for me. Honestly, I mean I'm just thinking about time and place dependent, and that's sure. I think I watched them within like a week's period, and it's probably a problem.
The whole thing with Homer losing television,
yeah,
and that's what drives him mad and makes him end up freezing to death in the maze.
And that there was a movie about a lady who had a psychological disorder, and they made fun of it on SNL, and I could not ever take it seriously. And so it's just things like that. I'll catch on, and I'm like, oh, I can't. I'm thinking too much about that. And
right.
I think it's The Simpsons.
Yeah, time and place I think is very important. Jaimie, you're hitting that with what you talked about with the movie versus the book, where it's like it kind of depends on which you get first, and then how you react to it. Because I know for me, I've never read The Shining, and I would have a really hard time reading The Shining and the entire time not just have Jack Nicholson in my head as what I'm seeing in my mind's eye.
I've always like Game of Thrones. I've always wanted to go and read the books, but I know in my head, like, I don't care how you describe that character, it's just going to be Peter Dinklage. Like, it's just going to be the actors that played that in the film, because I watched those shows, years ago. And it's which one you get first, unfortunately, can close that mind's eye to it.
It's beautiful casting for Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, I read the books before I watched the shows, and it spoiled it for me, absolutely. Yeah. Because I knew where it was going before the last book.
Oh,
I already knew.
Like this person.
Yeah,
it's gonna be horrible when they poke their eyes out.
They all die.
Yeah. Everybody dies.
Everybody dies.
Spoiler alert: Game of Thrones. Everybody dies.
Sorry.
Yeah, but it's the reality of it. That's why there's so many damn characters, because they all got to die.
It's true.
1978 brings us The Stand. This is my favorite Stephen King book. This idea of like a world-ending virus that couldn't possibly happen, getting released from a lab in China. What? Nothing. But it is this like very cool idea of like, oh, it's a man-made apocalypse. Because, normally when you talk about like apocalyptic stuff, like for a while it's like it's an act of God or something like that. And it's like, no, the monkeys just fucked around and we fucked it up, and we caused this to happen. And then you get this story of like who survives it and how they convene together and good versus evil. The Stand is just, it's an incredible story to me.
It's definitely a huge part of my fandom for him. And that's I think that there's a Ray Bradbury-esque way that King goes about these things continue even after everything's gone. This thing still continues, and there's a great short story by Bradbury that I've heard multiple times, and it's a specific date where the house comes back alive, and it's really cool to me. In The Stand, you have what becomes of us afterwards, and that's post-apocalyptic is always a place in my heart.
Same.
I can't Fallout, and again Fallout huge. They make a
Huge
giant
Fallout
Stand
fan.
reference or The Shining reference as well, but The Stand is everything you would think it would be, and it's perfect.
Yeah, I like I'm a big fan of post-apocalyptic fiction because it's interesting to see everybody's different take on what that is and what that looks like. And getting to see Stephen King play with it, I'm instantly on board.
And there's a Bachman short story called The Virus, which became part of The Stand.
Really?
And then they also have The Stand, and they have the early versions. And that's, for me, like I go back to Bachman, but it's like, you experience these short stories before they're fully fledged out, and it's like, oh, it's an old friend. Well, let me check on Richard Flagg or Rich Flagg and see what he's up to, So,
Jaimie, were you into The Stand at all?
No, I was always too intimidated to read it. It's so big.
It's
gigantic.
gigantic.
Especially when I was younger, I was like, oh no. But my only true memory of it is late night. They used to do info commercials for it,
Yeah.
and I still ingrained in my head. Like we were talking earlier about like things on your Instagram and, little short stories or whatever. And I was like, that would be a perfect one now. It's like info commercials from the late 80s of those crazy films.
we actually have a channel that we play at the brewery that is old commercials from TV,
Oh, that's going to be
and
wild.
it's so good.
Hell yeah, dude.
There's a graphic novel of The Stand that you should check out if you think it's
really?
intimidating. The artwork is kind of minimalist, but it's fantastic.
Oh, right on.
And it makes it less intimidating.
Look that up, yeah.
Speaking of old-timey commercials, I keep running across various memes and reels on social media, and the ones that touch my heart are the ones where it's like, it's 2 a.m. and you get woken up because like you passed out and you get woken up by the Girls Gone Wild fucking commercial on
Hell
E,
yeah.
where it's like that goddamn like calypso music where they're hitting the drums and shit, and it's like
Steel drums.
oh my god, dude! How many times I've woken up like I passed out drunk in college and like woke up to the steel drums, like oh shit.
I worked third shifts when I got out of high school, and I just remember, my weekends off. You just you have the TV on, like USA Up All Night would be on.
With Rhonda Shear.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it would be that shit.
100%.
Just an hour of no women actually nude at all, but just tempting you.
It was that, and it was the commercials of like modern rock hits,
Yeah.
where you could get like Hoobastank and Fuel on the same CD, like a two disc set. Of
Now
like,
64.
yeah, exactly. that kind of shit.
Now that's what I call music. They just changed it to now.
Yeah. Oh,
It's more hip.
that yeah. They're that's something that we don't have now. Is those kind of
I'm okay
commercials.
with
You know what? I'm okay with it too. I really am.
Life's still going on fine.
Yeah, but that was a thing at the time. That's definitely a place and time where you can definitely mark like if you live during a decade or not. If you reference it,
True.
you can very much, especially with younger coworkers, you can kind of figure out who exists where at what time if they know this reference.
Well, they had what was it, Late Nights with Dave Attell or
Insomniac with David Tennant.
Insomniac.
Insomniac was awesome. I love Insomniac on Comedy Central. Yeah, because and it made perfect sense because the whole thing was like David Tell. He was on the road. He would go and do comedy clubs, and then he would like get done with the show at like midnight, and he's like, let's go explore the town. And he would
What's
like,
there to do?
yeah, he'd go walk around Austin, Texas at midnight.
Yeah, he had one where he went to Japan. I just remember watching it.
That
That's
rules.
so cool.
they had Cartoon TV Funhouse was crazy too.
Yep.
It had Triumph, and it's like now I show it to people, and they're like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'm so old."
This was like gotcha interviews before gotcha interviews. Like it was so much fun. Nobody knew what to do when you had a hand puppet dog that was talking to you. Let's talk about 1980s Firestarter. So again, here's what I know about Firestarter. Drew Barrymore is a child, and she's lighting things on fire with her mind. And go. That's what
It's
I get.
preteen Carrie.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of like Carrie again, but now we got Carrie with fire.
Yeah, it gets a little more psychological, and I don't really the metaphysical, the spirit realm, that kind of stuff. I don't really fly with that. I can go thinner. Like you get a gypsy curse, cool.
Yep.
I get that.
On board.
That happens. That's real. The psychological starting fires of your mind was a little too much for me. It wasn't a fave.
Something you mentioned earlier to me, and I forget if it was on mic or off mic, but you said that one of the things you really like about Stephen King is like his realism.
Yeah.
And is that something that you kind of need, where you need to be set up to where like, hey, this is a real world that's existing, and then something kind of off happens, but it's connected enough. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Like,
absolutely. So
how does this work for you?
Yeah, so it's very simple. Like you can introduce for me, and it's a very personal thing, and that can be weird. But for me, it's very much like this could really happen, and maybe here's one gotcha. Gypsy curse, cool, I gotcha. Pet cemetery, I can kind of fuck with that, just because you've got like you could Indian burial mound, cool. But any further than that, it's like a little much. Now, Carrie, I get that, but the fire starting thing, and then they introduce a whole lot of other stuff, and it just becomes a different kind of feel. You go from having, in my mind, like a Stephen King, like a real crime detective type of thing, to like this fantasy that's just too much for me.
Jaimie, what about you? Like, when you're dealing with fictional universes, like, what do you like? Where is the point where you say this makes sense, and where is the point where you say this is bullshit, I'm off the ride? Or is there ever that point?
I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I think it's just how well the story is crafted around it, and kind of just how the world introduces it.
I've got a slight change, slight misdirection, but I think it'll come back. X-Files episodes. Is there an X-File episode that you will not fuck with?
None that I can recall. Okay. Yeah.
I never got super deep on X-Files because when we came out, I was like, it scared me. Because I was like, oh, aliens are real, and like being like 10 or 12 and being like, this was too real for me, because I was like, oh shit, this could happen.
Yeah.
And that's why I remember like being in junior high where like I liked more stuff like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, was because I was like, oh shit, okay, I know this isn't real, but it's going to scare me. But there's not a chance that like an alien's going to come through my window. And especially where I lived at in like rural America, that was also like a weird stuff, like watching X-Files and like watching episodes where like you would see people get abducted, or like something like what was it? Like, was it? It's not Firestarter, but a fire inside. No, not a fire inside. Fire in the sky.
Fire in the sky.
Yeah. Like, dude, that being a kid growing up in the middle of nowhere, it's scary as hell. Because there were so many nights where I'm driving down rural roads and there's nobody around, and the idea of like something pulling me up into the sky and then putting things in my ass seems very real.
Sounds like a good time now.
I know, right? Yeah. Now I'm like,
I'm
I'm like, get the prostate massage. This is great. What are we doing here?
That's X-Files had an episode where they had like a whole rebirth thing, and it was like attached to like a Native American folklore thing, and that was too much for
Oh, it was
me.
like a skinwalker thing?
Yeah, kind of like that, but it was too much. But there's like an episode where like they have a couple episodes actually with Eugene Toombs, who's a person that's grown through time to feed off of people's liver and then cocoon himself. I'm like, oh, that could happen.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm sure for me, it's time and place, but then also being able to just dispel disbelief for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that the Firestarter one just goes a little far for me.
A little too out there.
I will say, like, especially with the earlier Stephen King, like, he seemed obsessed with psychics and, yeah, I mean, again, like, people using mental powers and stuff. And in that era, I felt like that was a big thing. I mean, it's pretty, it's not even like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, the government had, like, remote viewing.
Men who stare at goats.
Yeah,
Like, that's real. That was actually, that is like an actual true, like, that's not even, like, they don't hide that. Or they're not like, oh, no, maybe we had that, maybe we didn't. They're like, yeah, we were trying it. You know?
We spent your money on that. It's fine.
Exactly. And it is like a weird era where they're saying, you know, people were trying to see whether or not that. And I do, like, I don't know, I'm pretty hardcore agnostic on everything. So, in the sense of, like, on everything. So I guess my suspension of belief is that, like, I don't know, it'd be kind of cool if the world did have Bigfoots, but I ain't never seen one. You know? Did
you see the video that dropped this week from the train?
Like, dude just running around.
Yeah, like on the hillside. I don't know how I feel about it.
I didn't see it, but I've noticed a complete downward decline of sightings, and as people have camera phones,
Yeah.
and video camera phones that are
Yeah.
high def.
Yeah.
It seems coincidental to me.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things too where I'm like, at this point, like, how hard is it to get like a really good Bigfoot suit and be like, hey man, show up at this point at this time and we'll film it, we'll make it
I mean,
a
that's
thing.
kind of the question. I think that video, it looked like it was like walking more like a human.
I can also devil that.
Now, to be devil advocate of that,
okay.
If these creatures, like,
They are bipedal.
the assumption is well, this is like some kind of giant bear, like half human creature or whatever walking through. If it was a creature of alien nature that we were actually spotting and or something from an interdimensional idea, the theory is that if it is vibrating at a different, and like this is physics shit way over my head, but I have read people's argument that actual cameras and stuff like that would not be able to take a good enough photo.
Oh, that's
Is it a roundabout
That's
mental
perfect.
gymnastics? Of course. Yeah.
I also think that we have less Bigfoot sightings because people have guns more now, and they're more likely to shoot a Bigfoot and be like, "Look what I killed," and
Yeah.
so you don't have Clem who's going to put on the Bigfoot suit this week
Probably
because
not
he
the
doesn't want
best
to get
idea.
shot.
It's true.
Definitely not the best idea.
If I'm in the woods and I'm packing, I see a Bigfoot, I'm probably gonna unload because like it's an 8 foot tall skunk ape.
There was a Bigfoot hunter show that I thought, oh, this is just a regular Bigfoot hunter show, and it became, no, we're gonna find it and we're gonna fucking kill it. And I was like, oh, you guys are packing, you're gonna take him down, all right. And so it draw a little more interest than like, oh, I hear some sounds.
I always like the ones where they like use they try to hit it with like the mating sounds of a Sasquatch, which I'm not quite sure how you figure out the mating sounds. Also, do you really want like a Sasquatch with a boner running at you?
Running at you.
Absolutely
like,
not.
Not the way I want to go out.
Yeah.
Fresh out of prison, looking
Yeah.
for love. I ain't seen a big lady
lonely.
Bigfoot in days.
So lonely.
Yeah, not the way I want to end things. I think my thing. So kind of going back to the whole
Sorry.
thing of like, no, dude, we're totally
This
cool,
is this is the rabbit hole.
All right.
brother. This is the show.
all
Rants
right.
and rabbit holes. This is the
I
show.
can do this all day.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Thank you. What? This is why you're a guest on the show.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I think my thing with like suspension of disbelief is if you give me a story and you give me rules to it, then I'm on board. If you just randomly drop it on me and it doesn't make fucking sense, then I'm out. Like you got to give me some structure. That's why like everything, everywhere, all at once works for me because they're like, this is a really fucking wackadoo idea, but there's rules to it, and I'm like, okay, cool, I get it. Or like the Matrix, where they're like, look, this doesn't make sense, but here are the rules to this, and I'm like, oh, okay, well that makes as long as you kind of explain it to me and lay it down what this is and how you're grounding things in this world, that works for me. My problem is when it becomes like, stuff like The Walking Dead, where it's like, okay, so you're living in rural areas, but for some reason there's like 200 zombies at all time just wandering around in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, I can't buy this. Like, this doesn't work for me. Like, you got to give me something that works. Like, are you guys, like, if you guys are living in a suburb, then okay, or like near a metropolitan area, I get it. But at this point, like, wouldn't you guys just like clear out whoever died in the town and it'd just be done? Like, who's actually marching towards you at this point?
It's just a horror soap opera.
It really is. And now there's multiple ones because they just keep splitting that show up into different characters. Norman Reedus is forever going to have a payday.
Good for him.
Yeah. Norman Reedus is now just Daryl Dixon.
He actually legally changes his name.
My name-
He can sign off on things with that.
I'm now Daryl Dixon. It's like, great, awesome, good for you. Yeah. He's just going to live at horror. Like for the rest of his life, he's just going to do horror hound. It doesn't matter. He's Daryl Dixon
He's a very
forever.
good-looking man in a show where he fights zombies. Trust me, there'll be people in that audience that want autographs.
That's true.
Get that payday, son.
Yeah.
Get that payday,
Hey, man.
Daryl Dixon. All right. We talked a little bit about earlier Cujo. Dude, what a terrifying story where like your dog tries to kill you.
It's definitely not far for me to suspend disbelief on it at all. It's very, I mean, you've heard stories about, people getting mauled by their dog or man's best friend turning, evil. I can see it. And it was so well written, and from the perspective that he had was just perfect.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea the way that he does the shift of it, where it's like you start out with this like lovable dog and then it changes, and also just the sheer size of it, because I don't think that like Saint Bernards are typically a imposing or scary dog. Like, normally people are like, oh, Dobermans are scary, or German Shepherds, or Rottweilers, like, or Pit Bulls, like these big, really muscular dogs. They have like cropped ears or cropped tails, and it's like oh, they bark, and you think about that, but you don't really think about like Saint Bernards, because they've always been stereotyped as like, they got like the rump, like the whiskey barrel around their neck. They find you when you break your leg skiing. They pull the sled back to the ski house in Aspen. They take care of you. And Stephen King flips that on its head. It's like, no, this is a murderous death machine that weighs 200 pounds and is just all muscle and fangs.
Yeah, I actually, again, I had a horror hound. Was it D Wallace? I'm trying to think of the actress who plays in the Cujo film, the mom.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, she was on a speaking, and someone brought up a Cujo question, and she was talking about how they actually had to tie the tails down for the dogs because they were so friendly that when they would perform, they were just happy. And they were like, we can't have them wagging their tails because they're excited and happy to be here on screen. So they had to literally like tape their tails down to make them look more menacing for the video shoot.
That would fuck with me more.
Right?
You got this thing just eating you, and he's just like, oh, I'm happy to be here.
So happy you're here.
Glad you're home. I'm hungry.
So happy.
Yeah, she just said apparently the dogs were like the biggest, sweetest, dumb dogs ever. Yeah.
Dan, is there another lovable creature that you think could be converted into a terrifying death machine?
I think Monty Python did it with rabbits.
True.
That's, you can't, that's probably the closest I can, I don't know. It seems like most animals kind of have that, like, here's the level of which you can fuck with them. And, and I think that, dogs that are bred to be lovable, you can't really go past that, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is such a cool part of this film is that switch where it changes, and it's like, oh my God, this is a whole new thing now from what this is and what it's going to be the rest of the time. All right, The Dark Tower. So this comes out in 1982. This thing has always fascinated me with Stephen King because like I've never read it. I know of it. I know there's a lot of it, and it's like this fantasy version of King. And we were talking before off mic, and you're like, it's not really my thing. And I'm like, all right, cool. Could you kind of just explain like what it is and why it's not a part of Stephen King that you fuck with?
It intimidates me. It's very large. I think that I had trouble, and not to go off topic, but Game of Thrones very much intimidates me because it was a lot of characters to memorize with weird names. And I think that when you kind of have like these characters that have these attributes, and like the whole kind of Dark Tower, as I understand it, is that these people play a role, and if you don't know it's like playing chess. If you don't know what they're going to do, you don't know why they're important or why they're pivotal or why what they're saying is important. And I think for me, it was a non-starter. I've gotten through some of them, but it's just really not something that really tickles my fancy. It's too far for me.
It's just such a major investment to get into.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not something that speaks to my love, my interests. It's not post-apocalyptic. It's not necessarily things going wrong. Like that's kind of what I see Stephen King as, is embracing the not happily ever after.
So you like the chaos?
Yeah, because that's reality. That's real life.
Jaimie, what about you? Do you ever do anything Dark Tower?
Real intimidating. Actually, like we were talking about my uncle, that was like one of the stories that he was really involved in. He loved those books when they came out, and I was like, there ain't no way.
Yeah,
I love I will say the covers of them were visually very interesting. The cowboy guy, the lone gunman, type thing. Yeah, it was really cool looking, but no.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, and I agree. Like, it is that intimidation of like, take the standard Stephen King book where it's like, hey, you're in for like, 700, 800 pages. And this thing is like, well, it's probably going to be like 1,200 pages a book. And there's going to be 7 of them. And I'm just like, I can't commit to this. This is way, way too much. But at the same time, it is something he is known for. And again, I think part of the reason why he's known for it is it's just enough outside of his wheelhouse that it's just like, oh, it's unique because it's just something you don't normally see from him. 1983's Christine. So we talked about this just recently on the past episode when we did
John Carpenter.
the John Carpenter episode that we're dropping on Sunday. And Dan, I see you lighting up right now. Like, what's your thoughts on this?
I absolutely love it.
You love it?
Yeah, it's things coming to life. It's not far enough out. For me, we have Teslas that drive themselves and kill people.
That's true.
So, it's like even Maximum Overdrive, that same kind of thing where you have just the thing that you owns you, but also can just turn on you, like Cujo.
Yeah, I think that's always an interesting story to tell when automated things turn on their masters. There's one of my favorite stories from Love, Sex, Love, Sex and Robots, or Death, Sex and Robots, Death,
Love, and Robots.
Death, Love and Robots.
Yeah, I don't know if sex is in it.
Something
Could be.
well, it should be
Love, Death, Robots.
Love, Death and Robots.
Love.
There we go. Love. Oh, sorry.
Reading
Sorry, I didn't know we were fucking lighting candles before we did this, okay? I didn't know we were making love. But yeah, check it out on Netflix if you haven't. It's a great anthology series of animated shows. And one of the ones that really stuck with me was this whole story of these people that were living in a house and like their vacuum cleaner turns against them and starts trying to kill them. And I think that's a story, again, kind of like the Cujo thing, where it's like, it's these things that you just kind of trust in your house that are like, it's just normal everyday life. And then suddenly something pivots and now all of a sudden you're in a life or death struggle.
Was it Mr. Wispy from the Fallout universe?
I wish it was. I wish there was a Mr. Handy that was trying to keep out, or whatever those things are called. Jaimie, what about like your take on this? Like, how do you feel about stories where
things come alive
and try to kill you?
It's great. Yeah, I think it's just a very obviously that's like some kind of back in the brain fear for all of us because you see it over and over in all types of horror. Whether it's I'm just going through my head. I'm like Puppet Master, dolls.
Chucky / Child's Play.
Yeah, I mean, how many movies can you make where some kid has a toy that comes to life and tries to murder you?
Well, and that's like one of those things that I feel like we kind of think about even in childhood is like, it's like when you're asleep, do your toys come alive and play? Like I would think about that as a kid, and then you'd have books like Indian in the Cupboard where that would actually happen. You know?
Sorry.
I was going to say, is that like an uncanny valley for us where you have something that's similar enough to you and you go like, oh, maybe my toys could come alive.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
at some point that survival part of your brain kicks in and goes, well, what if it does and it wants to murder me?
Yeah.
Like what is my plan for this? My fail safe. And I mean, again, as you age, I guess we're all kind of debating it. And we get like, if you have a pet, like, thinking like, what if that does turn on me when I'm sleeping and my cat tries to smother me when I'm nap time or whatever.
Do you have a contingency plan if any of your toys do come to life trying to murder you?
Oh, man. That's a good question. I don't...
I would think you would just the ninja in you would
I mean, I would hope I would have a pair of nunchucks nearby. Because I feel like that's the only time I'm viable to use nunchucks on.
Nunchuck seems to be the way to go against like vinyl toys.
Especially if they're tiny. I mean, them little fuckers will fly.
How effective are you with nunchucks?
I trained with like 6 years with a guy who was considered an expert, and he has one person above me who actually went to Japan and did nunchucks. And other than that, I'm his highest student.
I'm not. I promise, I'm not making fun of you.
Yeah.
I thought you were fucking with me for a minute.
No.
Like I get the flail. I get like ninja stars. Cool.
Actually, real quickly.
Yeah.
The truth of nunchucks is, about a strong 70% of it's grappling with nunchucks.
Okay.
Which again, as like I did jiu-jitsu, sambo, like grappling is definitely something I'm preferred to. And a lot of the physics of that, like you can do it nunchucks. Like traditionally, the nunchuck was, and again, I'm getting into my thing here. They were hooked around a horse's mouth.
Okay.
And they navigated horses.
Yeah.
Like everybody always said they broke down rice fields. That's absolute bullshit and myth.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And when you actually think of like how that would hook on a horse mouth and navigate that, that turns into a grappling tool.
Yeah.
So that was actually, that's the first thing. Because everybody like watches Bruce Lee with them and they're like, well, you just swing them and hit. And I'm like, well, that's not technically. That's the pretty shit that I'll put on Instagram and everybody's like, that's cool. You can swing him around and catch him between his legs.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's I always picture like the strip mall karate master thing.
I totally,
that's not meant to be insulting at
all.
all.
No, not at all. It's like, that's always my thing is like, I totally get
Yeah.
People are like, fucking nunchucks, if anything. But yeah, it was just randomly met a martial artist that did them.
Huh.
Yeah.
Also,
Shout out to Ray Ridge.
Also, they're just like a super cool thing to watch people work with.
Yeah.
Where it is that whole thing where like you're controlling something, it's spinning, and it's a very beautiful thing just to watch people work with. And it is one of those things where it's like, I wonder how effective they are in combat compared to other weapons, but at the same time, I would not want to get fucking smacked in the jaw with a nunchuck.
Yeah, I mean in the 70s when they began popularity,
Bruce Lee.
yeah, that's the reason why they were actually like illegal in the majority of states. Like in Ohio at one time, like when I first started training them, I couldn't have a pair in my car. Sorry.
Ohio politicians saw Bruce Lee movies and they're like, we got to outlaw
the
this.
shit ever, but yeah.
Look, if you want to have a 12 gauge, that's fine. AR-15's cool. Nunchucks, whoa.
Hey,
Let's have
no
a
Judy
conversation.
chopping, no nunchucking.
No nunchuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if someone was like, if you're in a real fight, would you have a stray of weapons? First I'm like handgun. Secondly, I'm like something with a sharp knife edge to it, obviously.
But how cool would it be if you fuck somebody up with a nunchuck?
But if it's a toy coming to life, nunchucks.
But style points, nunchucks.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, could you imagine how viral you would go if one of your house cameras caught you fucking someone up with a nunchuck?
It's true.
Dude, that would rule. Hell yeah. Jaimie, make this happen. Please, beat somebody up on your
I'm
front
just
porch with
like looking
nunchucks.
out at my neighborhood, like, come here, kid.
Come here. You over 18? Nunchuck. Dan, for you, have you seen Christine by John Carpenter?
I have. It was a long time ago, so it's one of those like.
Do you have a preference? Do you prefer the Stephen King or do you prefer the movie?
I prefer the Stephen King.
You prefer the Stephen King?
Yeah, and that's the toys coming to life is and things going wrong is a trend that I noticed about Stephen King, and the toys coming to life plays in many of the short stories too.
Interesting. It's cool that this is like a thing that he's coming back to and checking on.
I'm always curious of this, and maybe because you've read more. So, do you feel like, I'm trying to think of how I even would word this. Do you feel there's something he's trying to tell the reader through all the stories of that? Is this like a grand warning to him? Do you think?
Absolutely.
Because I mean, obviously, like this guy thinks.
Yeah.
You can't write that much, and you got to be smart.
So we touched on it very briefly, but in a lot of his books, he talks about different groups of people being downtrodden in our society. Maximum Overdrive, there was a lot of women's rights stuff kind of coded and hidden in it. And now he's definitely like on this trend of, and even on Twitter, he gets into it, which is definitely a complete aside and could take an hour just to discuss how batshit he is sometimes. But he talks about these things that you own you. And that's Cujo too, is very much you have this thing that you feed and you love and you treat right and proper, and then it might just end up killing you. And that's Christine's the same way. There's a couple of short stories that are very similar arc, and it just goes all wrong. And that's for me, that's always been a thing I've always loved.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, 'cause again, I'm more a movie nerd, but I do feel like a lot of, when you look at certain directors and things like that, you start to see, things that kind of are common and all that. We just did the one on John Carpenter, and there was so much stuff about like blue collar working class people, race relations in those classes and things like that, and how they need to work together. And there's larger things trying to push that down. And it is just like interesting to me, like what is a person who's obviously thinking so much and spending so much time alone to do that? Obviously, your brain is processing in a different space than the majority of us.
Yeah, I'd really like to, at this point, to hear like King, to see King start writing stories about AI, and maybe I should save that towards the end of the episode of what the future could be. But it does seem like it kind of feeds into that, where it's like kind of we were talking about earlier, but like Cujo, where it's like, hey, this thing you take care of and you think that you have control over, the same way we do with like we think we have control over like internet, computers, things of that nature.
I never want an AI dog. That's scary.
I mean, even Cell, which I know is on the list to discuss, Under the Dome, as hard as this thing is to hoist, it's even harder to put down. It's very much a coded, like, he has these messages, and it's there's like a ecological things that he definitely feeds into that. And it's like even Night Shift, you have this thing that's allowed to fester because this company is polluting their own area, and it just builds, and it's always coated in those little bits and pieces.
Hell yeah. Let's move to 1983's Pet Cemetery. So, confession time. Yeah. I've never seen Pet Cemetery. I know the entire setup. I know everything that happens. I know that Herman Munster's in it. I know all this, but I've never seen it or read it. And I think that again kind of speaks to like how much like Stephen King and what he writes and what he's created is like so much in pop culture. Even though I have never interacted with the material firsthand, I know everything about it. In terms of like what happens and what it is. Where does this rank for you, Dan? Like, is this something that is Pet Cemetery a big book, a big movie for you, or is it something you're just kind of like, yeah, it's one of the hits, whatever.
It's one of those for me that exists, and it definitely kind of shows you his style of prolonged, drawn out psychological horror and a lack of jump scare. I mean, like, you don't need that just to have something sit with you and just be something that bothers you. And that's one of those movies that just, and the book too, just sits with you.
Jaimie, what about you, man? Like, what's your take on Pet Cemetery?
It's a great Ramones song. Yeah. It really is.
It really is. No,
yeah.
Shout out.
No lie. If I'm having a bad day, I always put that song on. I don't know. I just love that song. I feel like it's like you said. It's not really. It's a movie you sit in, like, and it's not a happy movie to sit in.
It's uncomfortable.
It's a very uncomfortable movie to sit in. But at the same time, yeah, it's a great movie. I've never read the book. I've never even tried it. Is it one of his larger books, or is it?
It's mid-size.
Mid-size?
It's not hard to grasp.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's not a hard read. It's one of those that keeps you turning.
Yeah, because I feel like it would be one that would be fun to read. Not necessarily fun, but good to read.
Yeah. Keep you invested, keep you going forward with it.
The movie, I don't know how far different it is, but I really do enjoy the movie.
It's different enough, but it's one of those that like, and that's kind of the thing is he feeds the surroundings, and then he feeds you characters, and then he starts feeding you plot points, and it's kind of a familiar road for me.
Sure.
It's like, here's how this is going to develop, and and then there's going to be a twist, or there's going to be a surprise ending, and things go further to shit, and that's just what I love.
Love this work. Yeah.
Let's get into 1986's It. So, guys, this one's kind of loaded. I mean, because all of this hits across the board. I mean, the book is huge. The first, like, the TV series in the 80s was huge. Yeah. The movies that have recently come out are huge. Pennywise, especially now, has just become kind of like... I would say Pennywise is in that rarefied air of, like, Freddy Krueger, Leatherface, Jason, Ghost Mask from Scream. Like, he is part of Halloween at this point. Yeah. What's kind of your thoughts on it as a whole?
Yeah, well, first off, I'm old enough to remember when the original came out on TV, and it was like for months talking about that damn movie, and then coming out and scaring the shit out of me. Like, I don't like clowns as it is. I'm not like terrified of clowns. I can be around, but it's somebody in a creepy, weird makeup I'm not a fan of. So that hit me, and then, excuse me. And again, it goes back to the thing too. I enjoyed those because as a kid who didn't necessarily grow up in the nicest place, and people were assholes and bullies and stuff like that, like, it showed kids getting bullied. Like, it was a legit, like, yeah, you've kind of sucks,
Yeah.
It can. We're not just going to talk about the good parts, So I like that it addressed that. It made me feel a little more normal. And I think that for a lot of kids, probably that helped a little bit. Then I've never read the book, but I have seen the recent films. And I will definitely say for the first film, I was really on board. Second film, I think, kind of missed the mark a little bit. But as Pennywise... the second one especially, I feel is just a mega part of pop culture right now. It will be interesting to see, Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, we have 885 movies. Every 5 or 6 years, somebody has to keep that IP going, so they create something of it. We have billion toys, everything else. It will be interesting to see what they do. And I have heard they're actually doing some kind of like origin of Pennywise or something?
It's out.
Is it out?
Yeah, it's I don't remember what it was on.
Oh shit! I'm
but
gonna have to
it's
look this up.
brilliant, and I'm sorry to.
Oh no,
No,
you're
no,
fine.
no.
It's going to
Jump
say
in.
for me
all
that
good.
that book it's one of those that's almost too far, the book. But I think when you break it into pieces for me, I think that the origin story of this again a kid who's not dealt with well by his caretakers, and it's almost similar to Shawshank, in that you have somebody who's in and out of hospitals and has mental illnesses, and it's so interesting that you have this era where you want kids to like understand how to be safe, and when would these kids learn to fear and respect the sewer grates, and you have down to this like you're confronting your worst fear, and that it shows up as your worst fear, and that's for me kind of the movie was too much, like it's a werewolf and then or it's a clown, but the book was kind of just this absolute horror of almost Batman Scarecrow worst fear is what I'm
Right.
going to show you, and that's messed up for me. Like I don't even know what that would be for me, but it's messed up and perfect.
I agree with you, and I think that that's kind of like the same thing that we see with like the Nightmare on Elm Street series, where it's like, in something that we talk about when people talk about like the idea of like heaven and hell, and people are like, "Well, what's hell to you?" And in reality, hell should be like your own personal thing, like because it should be different to people. I mean, like. It like if I went to hell and it was just like, oh, it's lakes of fire and there's like a red guy with horns and he's got a pokey stick. I'm like, all right, man, like that's really not scary, But like if you had a thing where it's like, hey, you got to lay in this like you got to like lay in like a grave of snakes. I'm like, oh fuck that, I'm not doing that. I'm not. It's like, well, you're in hell. This is hell now, and I get dumped in a grave of snakes. That's my hell, Like that's the kind of thing that fucks with you, and I like that idea of like personalizing horror to what is your thing that fucks with you, Like everybody's got fears. It's interesting to see like clowns, they don't really bother me. Spiders don't bother me. But for some people, that's like a deal breaker. It's something that really scares them. Me, being on high ladders, don't like that shit. I'm a land dweller. I'm too big to be up on ladders, So, but then there's people that jump up on like 300-foot tall cell phone towers and are just happy as a clam doing that for a living, So I do like that idea of like the horror is personalized in this book.
It's definitely what I think makes it scary and what makes it a Stephen King book.
Yeah, 100%. I also like with the It thing, and Jaimie, you hit on it earlier, is like the way the kids interact in this and how like vicious and bullying they are. Where like, and it's the kind of thing where like Stephen King is not pulling punches. Where like people are like the bullies are calling people homosexual slurs, and they're like being dickheads and like
shitty.
beating people up and like threatening to stab them. And it's like, yeah, this is real. Like this is what happens. Like this is dealing with bullies. Like this is the bullshit that comes with it. And Stephen King like doesn't try to gloss over it. And Dan, I think again to your point, adds that realism to it, where it's like, oh, this is believable because this is the shit that happens when you deal with bullies when you're in like fucking junior high and high school. This is exactly what happens. So I think that's another part of it that really hits for a lot of people is that mixture of it's your own personal fear and it's realism. And here we are.
I think that also it's kind of an interesting time in our culture when this came out, where everyone was fearing the other. Mm-hmm. And I think Carrie, I think a lot of these movies show you, oh, the worst thing that you can imagine could be right here at home. Mm-hmm. And it's already here. It's not someone you don't know. And I think that again speaks to kind of how he does things and how he makes horror.
100%. I think another thing I always pull from it is I remember where I was at when I was reading the conclusion of it. I was on an airplane and I read the scene where they have to bang their lady friend to get out, and they basically pull a train because if they all lose their virginity, they're no longer children and now they're adults. And I just remember like being on a plane being like, what the fuck is happening right now? And just like trying to absorb this and trying to absorb like what is happening, like because it totally came out.
They skipped that in the movie.
Yeah, and it totally came out of left field for me. I was like, holy shit!
The ritual of the Chud.
Yeah.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller.
Yeah.
Great horror movie.
That is a great horror.
It is really good. Yeah, Chud is good.
Chud's awesome.
Listener, go watch Chud. But yeah, man, I think that of all the things on the list, I think this, kind of Jamie, what you're saying with like where Pennywise now exists in modern pop culture, I think this might be the thing that like lives forever. And
Yeah, I mean, still like, there'll be like some hot cosplayer on my Instagram who's dressed up as creepy, sexy, Pennywise.
yeah,
And I mean, it's became a part of that. Like people interpret it how they want to interpret it and things like that. And it's great for pop culture and the zeitgeist of things. But it's also like, it's interesting to be like, that's just 2 movies as compared to
yeah.
20, 30 years of a character. It's kind of neat to
Yeah.
see that pop like that.
No,
Because you don't see that often with modern horror and things like that.
It's definitely in that fraternity of monsters of like Jason, Freddy Krueger, Frankenstein, Dracula. We're like, this is like an all-time character that's just going to exist. And, 20, 30 years from now, people will still be dressing up as it for Halloween.
People will still get it.
People will still
understand the
instantly
reference,
recognize
yeah.
it. 1987's Misery. I always think this is an interesting thing. This again is like Stephen King very much like putting his problems into his work, and also just the movie with Kathy Bates as the villain, which is amazing and cool, and just showing how much of a flex of her as an actor.
She was great.
Like
So good.
dare I say she kills it? Yeah. What a great story.
I think it's great psychological horror, Stockholm syndrome, everything that leads into that, the pain of being injured and then re-injured, and there's nothing too crazy for me, which I think cements it for me as one of those books, and also the movie. She's an amazing actress and great in the modern horror that she's in too. I forget the name of the series, but she's great in it, even though the rest of it kind of sucks.
Yeah, she was in American Horror Story.
American Horror
Yeah.
Story. Yeah, always great. Always plays a fantastic character.
She's excellent in everything she
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Like she's one of those, and she's also one of those actors that is able to play different characters in different roles. Like she's very much like Gary Oldman in that respect, where like there's a lot of actors that like The Rock, Jason Statham, like these people that just play Robert De Niro,
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, every movie they're the same. They're the same person every movie. It's just them being them, but now they're in this movie. And every movie she's something different, and it's great, and really does a phenomenal job here. And then just the whole idea of like this thing where your biggest fan, again, this whole idea of like this thing that loves you so much is now going to kill you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the double sword. As a creative, that's what you're hoping for, is fans that love you so much that they want everything and purchase everything and give you the life that you're dreaming of, and the praise too. Every creative's like, oh please, somebody tell me I don't suck, but then it's can easily tip top to the other side.
Yeah, 100%, man.
And your ankles are broken.
I totally agree with you. Like I think it's so cool when like people well shit, I was gonna share them out at the end of the show, but let's share them out now. Like our friend JD, listener, go follow JDZilla_kaiju on Instagram. Like every time I drop an episode, like he's in my DMs like, dude, this was cool. I like this part of the show. Like give me feedback. And I'm like, dude, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. Like, thank you for like anything you do. Or like, our friend J Penn, they constantly like reposting stuff and putting stuff out. And it's just like, it's like, okay, like Jay Francis, like every time I drop something, he is just constantly reposting. Like, thank you so much. Thank you for always doing this. And then to take it to this degree, though, where it's like, what if somebody liked you so much so that like they just wanted to smother you, and they just want you to them, and it's just like, holy fuck, that is a terrifying idea.
Yeah, and I do think like we kind of live in a weird area now because of social media, that like I'm trying to think, fans of things feel that they own things enough to openly extremely it's one thing to be like, this just isn't for me, I don't like this version of Spider-Man or whatever, I get that. But then when people are like, I hope the creators of this die and burn, and say horrible shit, because it's social media and that's what you do, you just say horrible shit. Like you can see, like it's not too far off from one bad car ride and getting stuck with somebody like that might be a horrible thing.
Well, social media, especially Twitter or now X, like completely shattered that thing where it was like, maybe I'll email or maybe I'll write a letter to somebody who I'm a fan of. Maybe they'll get it. Maybe they won't.
Yeah.
I don't know. But now you can DM anybody you want and be like, you're a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
I hope you fucking die. And they're going to fucking see it. And it's just like, holy shit. Like, this is a weird place to live in now where at any point, anybody in the world can just like reach out to you theoretically and be like, hey, what's going on? How you doing?
I think even in the beer community, Untapped is a huge, like, for all of us, it's a cool tool for you to remember what you drank, but it's very much like if you're putting it on a sticker at a store, here's the Untapped rating of that beer. It's very much like, oh shit.
What's it like being on your side of it, where it's like, because I think one of the problems is with Untapped is people use it as their own personal barometer, and it's like, just because you don't understand the style of the beer doesn't mean that you should give it like a shit rating because you don't understand what this thing should taste like because it doesn't meet your standard.
I'm going to say this, and I don't want it to sound as if I'm full of myself. I knew that I had made it in craft brewing when I got a 1 star on a stout, #2stouty. And I've seen that. I've a couple of my beer friends, who are no longer a beer, in the beer industry or doing podcasts, would always talk about how like that's always the mark. It's how this IPA is too bitter, and it's like, oh, okay, like that's what I was going for. Thanks. But it's interesting. You can find problems. I've seen issues with cans before. We had a label, the seal on the can. It was a big problem industry wide, and we were able to nail it down because somebody commented on Untapped. And it's always, hey, reach out to me, please. Let's chat. Let's fix this.
Yeah.
But it's definitely interesting when you have that kind of unfiltered interaction directly with the consumer. You've never had that before. But I don't think that there's a lot of eat shit and dies. I might get them now, but that is what it is.
I'm as a fan of you, I'm hoping that you have way less eat shit and dies. I hope you have no eat shit and dies.
That's fine. I take it with stride, and it's definitely just pushing forward from that path. Moving me down the path.
Jaimie, before we jumped on, you brought up the Dark Half, like 1989. What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, it's like just my favorite Stephen King story. It's very, I feel, meta. Again, it goes back to the Bachman books, and it's kind of about an author who. Good catch. It's about an author who has a fake identity that he writes under. I believe, I hope I don't screw this up. I believe the name that he writes under is Richard Stark, who writes who is a real author at one time who wrote the Parker novels that I believe King was a big fan of. He's said in a few interviews. But it's also about, he gives up that. He tries to start his own writing career under his own name, and now Richard Stark is formed into a person who's like, I want my money, I want my stories back. And he's taking, in those stories, he was a vile, like, criminal, again, very much like Parker. If you read a Parker novel, that character and Parker are not far from each other at all. And in those, he also uses a straight razor, which is a terrifying, like, as a kid reading it, teenager probably by this age reading that, it was just like, Jesus, that sounds horrible. Like, they're describing him cutting people's necks and pulling out the tongues and, killing people in a more, like, mafia type style. And it's about the author trying to figure out what the fuck is happening and realizing, spoilers, that when he was born, he had a twin that he absorbed. And this somehow this goes into the weird metaphysical Stephen King part, but it's like it forms into this person. And there's a whole thing about, I believe it's sparrows, like that in a lot of legends, there's a lot of birds that they believe would take you to the spirit realm. And there's this whole thing about the sparrows keep showing up because they're trying to drag one of them back to the spirit realm to kind of make a balance. And it's all about that. But the beginning is really the part that sold me. It's like the idea, especially again, by this point, everybody kind of knew Bachman was, Stephen King's, originally wrote these books under. So it is this weird thing of like, are you just writing about yourself? Like how does this work? Like, how is this computing? It was just, I don't know. I just really enjoyed that book. It was a page turner, definitely.
I think he's definitely writing about himself.
Yeah.
And I think he's struggling again with the addiction and trying to go through like how do you make a great novel. And I think that in any creative process, you have these peaks and valleys of what you're doing and what works and what doesn't work. And I think he was struggling with that while writing it. And I think he has the quote on the back of that book even where he talks about how his filter is just that it gets caught in my filter the way that it just passes through other people. And that darkness, that dark thought, what if it goes wrong? What if this happens? And I don't think he really struggles to find things to write about. I think he just
Never
has
seems
to,
like it.
Yeah, he just has to get it out there.
No, yeah. It seems like he's constantly coming with ideas of things to write about. Like, yeah, this man definitely does not have problems being inspired and having like new ideas. It seems like he's constantly coming with something new to say.
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, obviously, he has a large amount of product compared to a lot of authors of his era. He's beaten him with that, and good product.
That's even jumping on like the ebook bandwagon early was very much a seeing the sign of the times coming. And I think that now you have a problem with authors having, groups of people writing for them. That's how you can put out like a novel a month. And I think that he just doesn't do that. And he's like, hey, I'm in it. I'm focused. I'm doing this. It's weird, but here it is.
Let's go to speak. I think this is a great way to transition this to Green Mile 1996. We talked about this earlier. Where like this is where he started doing like kind of a periodicals thing, where it was these like instead of just being one whole book, it was like these smaller books. I love this format. I thought this was a great way to read it, and I really dug the story at the time. I was also a teenager. But I also really love this movie. It's one of those ones that like I can definitely watch over and over again. So for you, Dan, like, are you more of a book guy on this, or are you more of a film guy on this?
I am one of those that can't really get behind this one because it's too much.
It's too much?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Jingles, I think that you have like kind of a magic healing guy. I think you have kind of a revisit to Shawshank, but there's less of an arc. There's less of a redemption story. It didn't feel like something that for me was Stephen King. And I mean, even for me as a fan of Stephen King, when he strikes out, he still finds a motion picture gold. But it's just, it feels too much. And maybe that's, I don't know.
Jaimie, you got a take on this movie or this book, either or?
I mean, I've never read the book. Yeah. So that one thing I was going to curious. Do you prefer books or like because that was the one that was an ebook, right? Am I thinking wrong?
That was a book.
Was it a book?
Yeah, it was a
do
period.
you prefer a physical copy or?
Oh yeah.
Are you a Kindle reader?
Are you a Kindle guy?
I am definitely more of a physical copy guy.
Yeah. Then
And that's
same.
I do IT work for a library still, and they give us like reading time as part of our hours.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
I'm work from home and as needed, but I still kick it there. And it's always been for me. I would always prefer like the hard copy.
Sure. Yeah.
There's something about it, the weight, the turning the page, and the ebook never really. As soon as it became an ebook, it became a tablet, and it had notifications, and it had all this other bullshit that just distracts me versus a book.
Do you read while you're brewing?
No.
Okay. You're focused on the job?
Yeah, there's too much chemicals, and again, something could go wrong.
Something could go wrong.
Come alive.
You could mutate an entire batch of beer.
I feel like reading Stephen King while doing that too. You're just
you're asking for
you're
trouble.
asking for something bad.
I want this to turn out good.
Yeah. You're reading Stephen King and all of a sudden you dump one of his soft covers into what you're brewing. Like nothing good can come of this.
I mean, one of my favorite breweries made a stout called Pizza and Money, and they put actual pizzas and actual money in it. It was an awful beer. So it's not, you don't want to add anything but there's just the basics. Good, yeah. Frozen pizzas and money.
Jaimie, how about you, man? Like, so,
I've never read the book.
Never read the book? Okay.
Never read the book, yeah. And the movie, it definitely, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it definitely didn't have the pull that like Shawshank Redemption had.
Yeah.
Yeah, it and I agree. It kind of has like it felt like he was trying to get the same energy out there, but it just skewed a little bit too much, and just for me didn't have I don't keep it in my memory as much. And again, like it's that thing where you don't sit down and turn on cable and see that half as much. Yeah.
For me, it will always be the thing where like John Coffey is Michael Clark Duncan. Michael Clark Duncan is John Coffey. Like, just talk about perfect casting. Like, one of those things where it completely worked out. And when you read the book, you're like, how are they going to find somebody to play this character? And then Michael Clark Duncan, it's like, oh, okay. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, and thank God it was him and not The Rock, because if they made that movie today, they would have put The Rock in that role.
Yeah, let's not do that.
And finally, The Rock has come back to breathe life into a mouse.
He puts Mr. Jingles in his hand and he raises an eyebrow.
Yeah.
People's eyebrow. I can smell what you're cooking.
Although if The Rock came on Saturday Night Live and they wanted to do that, that
would be 100%. Yeah, please. Okay.
That would be fun.
Well, they had Mr. Peepers.
Yeah. Oh, they did. Yeah,
the Rock and Mr. Peepers.
Yeah,
and he was giant Mr. Peepers.
He was giant Mr.
Classic.
Peepers. I remember that. Totally classic. And then we also get Tom Hanks, which I'm a Tom Hanks stan. I like Tom Hanks. He's good and stuff. So Dan is looking at me with much contempt.
I enjoy Tom Hanks. I have a feeling that sometime in the near future, you're going to see something awful.
Oh no!
It's just waiting. I'm definitely the other shoe's going to drop type of person, and much to the ire of my wife's entire family and my wife, I think something awful is going to happen, and it's going to be like, "See, I told you."
Can we at least say that Chet Hanks is a national treasure?
No, he's not. White boy summer.
Argue, I would argue that's actually the awful.
Nepo babies. This is a whole, this is our family job. That sounds wrong.
I love how ridiculous Chet Hanks is, where it's like, what character are you playing right now? Like, we all know you're Tom Hanks' son. Like, you're
so bad.
You're not from the streets, dude.
It's awful.
Like, you're not a rapper.
And
like, what are you doing?
You have Bob Dylan and you have Jacob Dylan in one headlight.
Yeah,
that tracks.
Yeah.
You have Joe King, Stephen King's son. It tracks.
Yeah.
It makes sense. You have the Zombie Brothers. Cool. That makes sense. I don't understand Chet Hanks. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't track.
He's very much of the times where it's very much like, what if Tom Hanks had TikTok? And it's like, this is terrible. And it's hilarious because it's so bad.
Tom Hanks also made Pinocchio. So I would argue that was about as horrible. I mean, I don't know what human crime he could commit worse than Pinocchio. So
we'll find out.
It was bad.
You'll see.
It was very bad. I made the mistake of watching that horrible thing in hopes, but it was bad.
So we've talked about Stephen King. We've talked about Richard Bachman. We then enter into 1996's Desperation and the Regulators. This was weird, man.
Holy shit! This is my favorite book.
I remember you said
hands down
you were super into Desperation. Like, what did you think about this weird crossover where it was like he was combining these two different things together?
You give me the same characters that I've come to know and love in a new scenario. Cool, fantastic. That's I think it's almost like Super Mario Brothers and then Paper Mario. Mm-hmm. I have another dimension to look at these characters. I have my favorite people, my favorite not so functional family. You've a biker that's like George Carlin-esque. Is it? I think it's Martinville. I think is his name. And then you have the scariness that comes from these people you love becoming monsters. So good. I almost want to diverge from my previous comments on that, where it's too far to have an Indian spirit coming up into somebody, but I could see it. Desperation.
You want to let it slide on this.
I'm letting if I can love on it, that's a great. I love the book. The movie adaptation for TV was the best version of the movie adaptations, but I think they've made a couple.
For the people that aren't like the diehard Stephen King fans that are listening to this episode, can you kind of explain the connection between Desperation and Regulators?
So Desperation and Regulators are the same characters. Regulators, they came out at the same time. He did something really cool, very Bachman-esque, to bring out this rugged design for both book covers that are like the two sides of this split apart, and it's a parallel universe, same characters, just a different scenario, and you could just see them interact similarly how they would normally, and it's like bringing the gang back together. It's great.
Jaimie, can you think of anything from your time reading fiction of something like this where somebody has taking characters and split them into different universes like this?
I mean, comic book wise, it's done a lot. I'm not familiar with these books at all, so
Okay.
I find this really interesting. Actually, that's a hell of a concept to do in that format.
Desperation is amazing.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, that's such a good idea.
I didn't even ruin anything for you. It's great. It's so good.
But in comic books, they play a lot with different dimensions and things like that. I mean, Marvel always had a comic called What If, where again Conan shows up and becomes a 1970s pimp. Which not every one of them's hitting a home run, but there's some really good ones of that.
Or
too.
like the Marvel zombies, or or just like the multiverse.
Multiverse and that's the DC stuff. So
What if the Punisher killed Spider-Man?
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think that kind of stuff is very cool. Like where you take characters, where it's like, hey, you're familiar with them in this, but what if we do this with them? And I think that's a cool idea to be able to kind of shift stories and to play around with stuff that's kind of pre-established.
Yeah, I think, well, especially as obviously with the Stephen King books, those were like very introducing you to them right then, but like with stuff that's established for a good while, it's monotonous after a while. It's like, yeah, I know Spider-Man's not going to die. Doc Ock isn't going to kill him. He's going to swing around. Mary Jane's waiting at home. And then you add some new element to it like that. It lets people almost create fan fiction, for lack of a better term. And it's really cool to see a creator just be like, no, I'm going to do that. I'll take the reign for that.
The whole Phoenix saga brought us Venom and Carnage, and that's like, for me, that's you create an entire new set of players from this universe that you expand so rapidly and so crazily.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a very cool idea, and also in kind of what you're saying there with like Venom and Carnage, the byproduct of that, where it's like the Phoenix Saga is like such a huge thing, but it's like, oh, we get this other cool thing that pops off of this. Now this continues, and you can pop other things off of this, and that's the beauty of fictional universe and storytelling is you can keep continuing the story.
Spider-Man gets help from the Fantastic Four, and it all comes together. It's neat. I think you've seen that played in Marvel movies recently. I don't remember which. I guess it was Fantastic Four, but it's you kind of see that playing over again, and it's nice. And that was, I think, The Regulators definitely is a good B-side for Desperation.
Was there one that like he wanted the audience to read first?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think it really matters. Yeah. It's very. I read Desperation first, but for me, it made perfect sense. But it's also kind of like when the Bachman story comes out, you get to see those characters again.
Sure. And
it was really neat in some of them seeing them become movies. And that was, you'd asked before if I prefer tablet or physical copy. I think I'm physical copy. But I think movie versus book, I'd like to read the book first, then see it come alive.
Yeah.
And that was Harry Potter for me. Was really cool to see, just to see what somebody's take on what a Dementor looks like, or see the Whomping Willow come alive in such a dramatic way.
I agree with you, because it lets your mind create that image, and then whether or not it lives up to it in the movie, that's another thing. But at the same time, it's not just if Harry Potter, like a Death Eater, what that looks like because I've watched 20 of them on the screen now. It kind of ruins the imagination part of reading.
That's, I think what was neat about even like the trailer for Harry Potter was seeing the Dementor, be like, oh shit, like they don't even have to tell you what that is.
Yeah,
I already know. It's cool. You're keyed in. You got it.
Your mind's made that image already. Yeah.
I also wonder what it's like to like read for different people, because like we all experience like when we see things in movies the same way. Like we all. Example, Harry Potter, we when we watch Harry Potter movie, we all see the same Death Eater. But when we all read the book, well, what does my Death Eater look like versus what your Death Eater looks like, And I think that's a cool thing with books, where like you have your own mind's eye of what the characters are and the universe and what everything is. And that's something I think is special about reading.
I think that probably goes back to the King versus Kubrick, where he had this idea of what it's going to be. And then he doesn't see what he thinks it's going to be, and that really upsets a creative person.
Yeah, 100%. And I can totally get that. If I had something that I made and then somebody fucked it up, or in my eyes, I'd be like, "What? What are you doing?" And it turns out, like in most people's eyes, like this is great, but in you as the creator, you're like, this is not what I had envisioned.
Yeah, I'm a total sellout. I'm the absolute opposite. If anyone out there wants to buy any of my property IPs. And I don't care. Just
want to see it come to life and cash that check.
Yeah, just hand me the check. I'll never watch it anyway. It'll be like, yeah, it's great.
All right, guys, we're starting to wind down here, so we're getting into some of the stuff that I've not read, but I recognize again as pop culture things. So 2006 Cell, dude, fill me in. What's up with this book? Because I've heard of it, but I've never read it. I don't know anything about it.
It's almost a modern take on like a Manchurian Candidate, where you get a phone call, and if you answer that phone call, you're gonna kill people. Like you're a killer.
Wow. Okay.
It's so again things coming things that you own you.
Well, and also again, like when you get a call on your cell phone from an unknown number, and you have to make the decision: do I pick up or do I not?
This could ruin my day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the gist of it, and it's just such a good. And how do you let somebody know not to answer their phone?
Yeah. Well, and how can you? And so is it like? Is it so when you say it's like a Manchurian Candidate? Is it like a spell or or do they explain it? Like
I don't remember them explaining it. It's just like
it's just like you pick up and
I think for me that makes it more horrible.
Yeah,
because you don't know what's doing it.
That it just randomly sets you up for this.
Yeah, and that's some of a lot of the lore of Stephen King. Like they kind of explain it later on sometimes, but sometimes they don't, and sometimes that's all the better.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
Jaimie, when people call you from random numbers, do you ever pick up?
No, I have a cell phone.
Yeah.
That's, at the time now, I mean, at least we have that thing where caller ID does exist on cell phones pretty good.
Yeah.
Mine just lets me know. It'll straight up just say spam. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Which I really appreciate because I don't want to answer those calls.
Well, and there's also a scam going around where you can take somebody's voice, a 30-second clip, and you can, and we've done it to our salesperson for fun, and make him say all kinds of hilarious things to us. And he doesn't like it at all. But you can take a 30-second clip and you can sign a verbal contract with it. People are using it against you. So.
Yeah, that's I've heard of that too. I work for a gas electric company, and apparently there's a lot of like people that try to other companies trying to use that type of technology to make you sign on to other companies and stuff. And it's wild.
Well, I see every day, not every day, but like I'll see companies get like this thing from a official looking website registration. Hey, your website's getting ready to expire. Yeah. You need to register your name. It's $144. Oh, here's a check. That's not how that works.
No, not at all.
They're not going to mail you. Well, that's not how it works. But
this is where we live in now.
Yeah.
It's scammy as shit. I mean, I feel bad for people that are older than us that didn't think they were going to live in this world, like, and they weren't prepared for it. It's not fair. It's just not. Like,
maybe they shouldn't have created this world.
Bum 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 bum.
Although I will argue that it's funny, it's like as much as you can watch older people and be like, well, they're so disconnected. I realize I'm like, there's gonna be a point where I'm disconnected.
Oh yeah,
like that's how scary to be where we're at.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's gonna be a point where like I'm not gonna know how video games work anymore, and I'm also gonna say something that's gonna be canceled, but I didn't know I was not allowed to say that. Because I'm going to be like, well, you can't fuck robots. And they're like, oh, no, you can't say that. And I'm like.
Tank, you can always fuck robots. It's fine.
I think that's the point of robots.
I mean, yeah, why would you make a robot if you can't fuck it?
You know what, guys? I think I think I'm coming woke on robot fucking.
Yeah, well,
all right.
We got something out of it.
I'm on board.
Don't kink shame me.
All right. So the last book I got on my list here is Dr. Sleep, released in 2013. Is this related to it, or where is this?
Shining, I think.
Shining. Okay. Yeah. So how's this work?
Oh, I don't fuck with it because it's Shining. I can give you the gist of it.
Okay.
Danny, the kid, grows up and remembering these horrible experiences at this mansion, and he becomes an alcoholic and a bad person, and he becomes an alter ego, Dr. Sleep, akin to the dark half type of thing.
Okay.
He has this mental break go on, as I understand it, because I read it once and I'm just like, not my favorite.
Okay. Jaimie, do you know anything about this?
I saw the movie. It's not good.
No.
Yeah. It's like weird too, because like I run into a lot of people that tell me it's good, which makes me always go, well, maybe I'm just wrong. But then I try to rewatch it and I was like, no, I'm not wrong. It's not, for me, it's not good. We'll put it that way.
It's always a bummer when somebody makes a sequel or prequel to something that's great and then it sucks. I always think of like The Sopranos when they made that shitty Kings of Newark movie that they did.
Yeah.
And god damn was that horrible. Like 6 seasons of pretty solid HBO television and then you give me this and I don't need this. I really hate when people give me something shitty that's tacked on to something I love.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2,
Oof. Which one?
the love story,
Tobey Maguire?
the early one. Yeah,
Ugh. And Spider-Man 3 was rough too.
it had Venom.
Skinny Venom, though.
Yeah, but that was
skinny
also
boy
the one
Venom.
where like
went all emo.
where then like Peter became emo
was
and
everywhere.
was like dancing.
It was
Yeah.
Evil Peter.
Yeah, evil Peter.
Evil Peter. No, I didn't like that. The most recent one I didn't love either, and my brother-in-law is going to probably kill me over this. But
I haven't seen any of the recent Spider-Man movies. I need to see the new. Is it Tom Holland? Is that the kid in it?
yeah,
I need to see those. I've seen the first Into the Spider-Verse, favorite animated film
great
since
cartoon.
Heavy Metal. That film fucking rules. Heavy Metal's still number one, but the new Spider-Verse, the first Spider-Verse is incredible. I really want to see the sequel.
Eon Flux is number one.
Alan Flux is pretty great.
They're classic for a reason.
Yeah, also one of the first like cartoons, it's like let's establish like really weird close-ups of like flies getting caught in eyelashes and then people tongue making out and putting like bombs inside of teeth.
Yeah, it was a wild one.
Yeah,
It's definitely
crazy ass show. All right, guys, let's wind this thing down. Dan, before we leave, man, was there anything we didn't hit on Stephen King you wanted to talk about? Open floor, man.
Absolutely.
This man has thoughts.
I'm really sorry. This isn't going to go on long, but Nightmares and Dreamscapes is perhaps the best adaptation of Stephen King products, just hands down. Needful Things aside, the Rick and Morty episode of Needful Things, fantastic. Right number is you calling yourself in the past, and it's just crazy. The road virus heads north. I'm giving you just a brief synopsis of these things. It's a painting that changes and it gets closer.
Oh, really?
Good, frightening. Stephen King's marriage almost ended in a divorce because he got so into Mambo Number 5.
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I said.
Was he just constantly blasting Mama?
Yes. Fantastic. Let's see. The Ledge is one of his short stories. There's somebody gets blackmailed essentially to come to an apartment and they put heroin in his car, like enough to send him to jail for life. And like this guy makes this other guy walk around the outside of the ledge of his apartment, and then tables get turned, and that guy has to endure the torture he just did.
Oh,
and I mean, there's bees, there's birds.
And that was in Cat's Eye, correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Battleground. Hands down favorite adaptation of a Stephen King short story. It is a toy box that gets sent. Contra Killer gets sent a toy box from this toy company as like a gift, and he thinks it's just a funny joke because he killed the guy who runs the toy company. It comes alive.
nice.
And he's a professional hitman in his nice house, getting chased by army soldiers peppered with, different small arms fire, small toy soldiers. But like the crazy part is like he finishes them all off. And then like it pans over and you see the lid says, and now with Apache attack helicopter. And that fucks his day up.
Nice.
So good. But yeah, that's I guess the only other one that I would want to mention is Quitters Incorporated, which is you go to this company, it's a small little office, you tell them what you're addicted to, and they come up with a plan for you to quit that thing. And usually it involves like, your kid getting beaten up by an adult, or, like they have all these blackmail, you'll never smoke again. And it's just this dark, like psychological, again, here's how we're going to make you stop smoking.
Man, I really didn't realize like how much like Stephen King really works addiction stuff into what he's writing about, and like how much of Stephen King is really just Stephen King writing about Stephen King, but just in like these really like weird fucked up scenarios.
And he definitely therapizes in his writings. But and again, the toy box coming alive, things coming alive, and killing you is just continuous for him. But the Bachman books, I'm surprised not more of them have been made into a movie because they're just so. I mean, they have been, but they're different plot points. Like Autopsy Room was another one. Getting an autopsy while you're alive. I don't remember the name of the horror movie, but it's bad. So anyways,
no.
nice spooky thoughts to think about.
I didn't experience an autopsy while I was alive, but I did experience last year when I got. So I had a thing that was growing in my butt cheek. It was not a tumor, but like just a mass of like gunk in my butt, and I had to get it cut out. And they thought it was smaller than what it was, so they gave me less. So they were like, we don't need to knock you out for this. You can totally be awake for the surgery. We're just going to numb the area. We're going to take we're going to take a scalpel. We're going to slice it open. We're going to pull it out. It'll be fine. I'm like, how long is it? 15 minutes. Totally fine. This thing was way bigger than they thought it was because it was basically an iceberg growing in my body. Mm-hmm. So what they thought the lump was that was sticking out of my butt was actually way deeper inside, and they had not calculated for this. So then the entire surgery then turned out to be, it went from being 15 minutes to almost an hour. And then it was me playing this game of, as they made the bigger incision, hey, I can feel that. And then them having to numb me more. And dude, that sucks. Yeah. Like there is, like being awake for surgery is just, I never want to do it again. I thought I could tough it out, and I did, but it is not fun. Like being in pain when you don't think you're going to be in pain, terrible.
I woke up during my wisdom teeth extraction. They have their hands in your mouth, and they have gauze, and you're just, and it's awful.
What's happening right now?
Yeah, that's I. Whenever I go in for anything now, I'm like, I need Versed, and then I need my pain medication so that I don't remember these things if I wake up.
Yeah,
and you're like, cool,
Jesus,
100%.
You know what you like.
Jaimie, you covered in tattoos. Like, how do you approach when you get worked on for surgery? Do you have to be knocked out? Can you be awake for stuff? Like, how do you approach medical procedures?
I mean, I can't say I have a lot of history of surgeries. I mean, I got my wisdom teeth. Luckily, I was
no
out.
problems. Yeah.
Woke up and I was still gone for a good hour or two. But I can't say. I'm trying to think of like. I mean, I had a really horrible dislocation in my arm back in like 2015, 2016. And that was not fun, but they just had to shove it back and do all the extra stuff to that. But I don't know.
All right. Nothing bad. The point of the story is me Absolutely. And you, more drugs. Jaimie, just enough drugs.
Thick Boy Nation.
Thick Boy Nation, getting more drugs.
Hell yeah.
All right, guys, let's close this thing down. So, talking about the future of Stephen King. Well, okay, let me ask you this. I've heard of the Stephen King universe. Do all the Stephen King books, novels, fiction, do they all exist in the same world, or is it different?
A majority of them have that northeastern feel, but they don't all. Like The Stand is definitely a California thing, as I understand it. It's not really a feel, but definitely the ones the outliers, the ones that I said I don't love, those definitely feel like they fall outside of the universe. So maybe it's that comfortable thing for me. I don't see him having an issue going to another area, but that's, I think, definitely, the Tower is definitely outside of the realm.
Right on.
Is it dairy? Like there's a place in Maine that, at least a few of the stories.
Castle Rock. That's Stand By Me, and that's he named his entertainment. Yeah. Bangor, Maine, which is where his rock station is, I think feels the Needful Things type of Salem's Lot, all that stuff feels very...
I know that there was a show that I think Hulu put out a few years back. It was his universe, quote unquote. Yeah. But it wasn't, I don't know how much he was actually involved in it.
That was the It prequel. That was the It starting out.
Is that
yeah?
Because I remember that they put out a couple seasons.
You should watch that.
Yeah. Well, I did. I at least watched because one of them had whatever Kathy Bates' character is. Mm-hmm. She was in it.
Yeah,
like as a young young nurse, but I can't remember. It's been so long. But I just remember it was good.
Yeah, the It kid is part of that. It's fantastic.
Yeah. remember it was, but they were trying to mingle 3 or 4 of the
Yeah,
stories.
they show you kind of the Stephen King Castle Rock universe.
We're in that post Marvel thing now, where everybody's trying to mingle everything into post universes.
Yeah, yeah, everything's going, and that's why I asked, just because like I'd heard of that like in the wind, and I was just like, does this really exist, or is this like something online where somebody's just trying to line this up and be like, no, seriously, it does work together, you know? And I just didn't know, so that's why I asked. I'm trying to figure out where the lines are and how this works, because I agree with you. Like there is some stuff where I'm just like, how would this exist? Like how would anything exist in the same universe as the Stand? Like it's the end of the world. Like how can you have The Shining and Carrie happening in a universe where the world is ended in the Stand?
And I think that it, again, is he has his palette set out. You know what he's going to work with, and that's kind of where it works. But also, a Misery is kind of like a cabin. It's its own thing. It's
right.
That you're stuck in that place, and that adds to it.
Yeah. Well, what do you want to see in the future? Like, what do you want from King going forward?
I mean, you mentioned AI taking that on. I think that would be, again, I think he's already kind of done that with Cell, but I think that you could definitely move forward with more of these things because we keep creating more and more stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a remake, they actually talked about a remake of Maximum Overdrive. And I think now with self-driving electric cars, that would be fucking frightening. They don't run out of gas.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a modern version of Maximum Overdrive would actually make sense now, especially the more that we default to AI and we're moving to more stuff where, you don't have to think about things anymore and things are just done. One of a friend of ours is an engineer, and he was touring a car plant, and he was asking, he was like, why do you guys have the lights on over there where like the robots are just moving and moving stuff? And the guys that were the CEO type dudes were like, well, we keep the lights on over there because if we turn the lights off, then the guys who still work here get depressed because they realize that they are eventually going to get replaced too. So we leave the lights on so they don't think about it. And it's like, fuck, dude, that is very depressing. Like that is crazy, but that is the reality of the future.
The robots like the light.
Well, if they're solar powered.
Did you know that the DARPA had a project, a military vehicle that would be able to chew up biological things?
Oh,
and use them as fuel.
Yeah. Where you could eat dead bodies on the
I said
on the
biological, but you do you.
Yeah.
But no, I think Stephen King would be great for
He'd be nice
thinking
for
about that.
Yeah. Yeah, or even like the Boston Dynamics stuff with like the dogs and all that. I would like to. I would like to see Stephen King's take on that.
Watching those things progress every 6 months is frightening.
Now that they're opening doors for each other.
Yeah, for each other, not for us.
Yeah,
they're gonna open the door just slightly, just a little bit less than you can move through it, and be like, "Oh, sorry, just fuck with you."
Jaimie, is there anything you want to see Stephen King take on, or is there any like classic Stephen King stories you'd like to see remade in movies?
I mean, I don't think any of us have to worry about it, but hopefully he has a lot more stories to be able to get out, and hope the dude has a great life. And again, it seems like you said, the AI idea. It's just like I'm always fascinated with what his take on things is.
Personally, I would like to see Stephen King do some kind of video game. I think that's a medium that he hasn't jumped into yet. And I would like to see his take on that, whether it be like the Telltale games with like what they did with The Walking Dead, or if it's just more of a linear story, single player RPG. Yeah. I would like to see Stephen King take a crack at it and just see what he would put out there.
Yeah.
I think that'd be just something a little different, a little cool, because the man's proven he can work in various subject matter. He can work in various mediums, and he's pretty successful in all of them.
I think that'd be pretty genius. Yeah, I'm always interested in, like, as video games, the storytelling gets better and better and better. I think that's one of the biggest improvements. I mean, granted, everybody's like, the graphics are so beautiful, and I'm like, yeah, but the storytelling in these things is incredible at this point. It's long form storytelling. It is interesting to ask, like, what different creators in other worlds stepping into. I always like, what is a Tarantino video game?
Feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like a foot massage parlor
dude.
at least once,
Quentin Tarantino's foot massage parlor.
That Grand Theft Auto game that he would make, that would definitely be a place you visit.
Just rubbing all the hookers' feet.
Every billboard is just feet. like in the back.
Sorry.
No, I'm gonna run with that. Like that
No,
would be a genius.
that's 100% what that is. Well, look, guys, before we get out of here, let's just hit some plugs real quick. Jaimie, where can people find you out online?
Jaimie_Filer at Instagram. That's all I got.
Dan, where can people find you out? And where can they buy your beer at?
Swine City Brew. We like to sell as much in tap room as possible, but root cellar, barrel house, Cappies, Miami University. I mean, just we're pretty scattered. We got a lot of locations: Dayton area, Cincinnati area. We also been picked up on Brewker too, which is like a delivery service.
Nice.
Yep.
Shout out Root Cellar. You've been my go-to beer store for over a decade now. I love you. And everybody that works there, thank you so much. Listener, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you have a friend into Stephen King, please share this episode with them. And by the way, share all the episodes with people because we cover a lot of ground on this podcast. Multiple hobbies, multiple collections. Every episode is evergreen, so you don't got to worry about something being out of date or out of time. You can just pick up wherever you want to at any time. And again, the algorithm is fucked. If you can just share it with a friend via text, it works so much better. Trust me, I'm a doctor. I'm not really a doctor. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. And Dan, thank you so much for talking Stephen King. Listener, peace.